Psst.
The thing froze on me.
I see a dead producer.
Jimmy.
Jimmy. What do we go?
Can we read?
Here, hold on. Stop. This is the open to the show.
This is the beginning.
No. What happened here?
The thing froze on me.
Yeah, that's what they all say. That's what they all say. Then they made a movie.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Happy. I go a cappella.
Happy third. No, we don't need you singing.
That's an 8 Mile reference.
You know what? You would be a D-lister if you got into a singing.
F a doc, F a Papa Doc, F a block, F y'all if you doubt me. I'm a piece of white trash. I say it proudly.
I think you would already be kicked out of that competition. We got to have some music here.
Yeah.
Let's get a little music here. That's how we're going to start a Thursday.
What the hell's that? That's the first thing I clicked.
You know what?
Roll with it.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to where I was 10 minutes ago because that was a happy place. What is this?
What?
Okay.
How about that?
It's a little bit better.
Let's see what.
Little bit better. All right. Good Thursday.
Oh.
Now that's how we're gonna do the show today.
Good morning.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome in. It's Gary and Matt and Bad Jimmy.
Crappy.
So
Jimmy.
it just no, just bad.
Just bad.
What would that list be on?
E.
So
list.
an E would be a bad would be on the E list?
No, isn't the F tier? There's tiers.
Not
There's
sure.
S, A, B, C,
Here
D.
we go.
Sure, my head is still
F.
spinning after the end of our show yesterday.
I was wrong. I was told by a lot of people I was wrong. Chris Rock, A-list comedian.
Oh, I know that. Well, okay.
A-list comedian.
I'm
When
not touching this.
15 different people tell you Chris Rock is an A-list comedian, that alone just puts him on the A-list comedian. Everything else, I stand by. That and let's add Adam Sandler to the list. And then we're good.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
It is a Thursday. It is Gary and Matt with Jimmy. Glad to have you in as we reach the end of May on the 29th of May. And on the F list would be the conference finals. So 2 of the conference finals in the NHL and the NBA, they're over. We're not even guaranteed a game 6. Sadness, very much sadness, but we will have the Stanley Cup finals and the NBA finals before you know it, and people will just bitch. That's what they will do.
Could be a
That's
sad
what they
night
do.
tonight.
So we ask, yes, it could. I mean, we could just be,
I
but
don't mind that.
we asked the Women's College World Series and the regionals in baseball to begin tomorrow to please save us from what we've had for sports. But we will talk about sports. That's what we do. We ask you, though, as you join us on this Thursday morning, to pull yourself away from a Troy Dannon picture, please.
There was a lot.
Now,
Are people upset about it?
no.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
okay. So here's as I threw it into the group chat yesterday, and people in the group chat. Here's the demographics of the one of my group chats.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is a good majority of them are season ticket holders to Nebraska football, and we're all about the same age, so we all have 3 national championships to our credit. We're searching for that 4th. The discussion back and forth was pretty interesting.
Okay.
And I don't at the end when it kind of finally ended, and there's the awkwardness of, okay, when you're in the middle of a texting conversation, when you're supposed to pull the plug.
Sure.
Like, when do you stop?
This is good.
And then everybody's like in agreement, okay, the texting conversation is over.
Yeah.
We got to that point yesterday, and I thought, you know what? What does this say about us? Because it is the end of May. June's a big month in Lincoln. Then we got July, and then we got, of course, August, which 13 Thursdays from today is football.
That's 91
in
days for those scoring.
Kansas City. Which won't we be doing our show on Thursday and Friday from Kansas City? Isn't that the plan?
We will be. We'll be doing it. Thursday and Friday. We'll be doing it here, and then right after the show on Wednesday, we'll be going to Kansas City.
Yeah.
We'll wake up in the Airbnb on Thursday. We'll do the show, and then on Friday, probably with not too much sleep after a Big Red overreaction, we will wake back up and we will have our own reaction.
How will it be? Because it's going to be really interesting. This is a thing I proposed back in the day when Damon and me and Nick and then John and Severe is we just rented a Airbnb for the College World Series, and none of us went home. We just stayed in the Airbnb for like a week.
Content.
That went over like a lead balloon. People were like, hell no.
16:20 to home. That's what we'll be.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's going to work on the Friday morning after the opening game of the season.
Over under punches thrown, half?
No. There won't be any punches thrown.
I just hope
But
I'm able to sleep by then.
Well, I'm wondering, we're going to be up early. We're going to be up early. They're going to, like, Happer has to come back because they're making him do a show at 10 back here. So he'll have to leave either like at 6 in the morning or leave after the game.
He's got to come back.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because we have to be out of the Airbnb.
Oh, by a certain point.
Yeah.
So we're in the clear.
Yeah.
We get to do it there and then drive. Well,
I wouldn't.
We do the show.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. It's gonna be. We're gonna 1620. The Zone will own the Nebraska Cincinnati game.
Big time.
I mean, we are the home of the
time.
Huskers. That's the perception.
Yeah.
That's
what I used to think back.
Shout out to the new affiliate here in Omaha.
Yeah,
good people over there. Know a lot of those guys. One of them actually is the godfather of 1620. So congratulations to them. Mm-hmm. But we are the home of the Huskers.
The transitive property.
I would say so. After being in an Airbnb for 2 days and doing the pregame and then the postgame and the big red overreaction and the post game, I'm going straight to an airport after our show in Kansas City.
Fly back to Omaha?
No,
damn.
No, I'm not that bougie.
I did. I flew from Des Moines to Kansas City when I was a kid. Just because my dad had.
Did you even get a drink?
Well, so
did the cart even come through the aisle?
So, Dad had like 3 plane tickets for free.
Okay, and he chose Des Moines to Kansas City.
Well,
out of all the places
I don't remember.
Go.
I was too. I wasn't young enough to know the whole backstory, but it is about a
20-minute flight.
It was about I think I remember like 25 minutes. Yeah,
I have done San Antonio to Houston, similar.
But you'll get an opportunity to see the brand new Kansas City airport. It's really, really nice compared to what it was. Sure. Hello, you think I'm lost. But 13 Thursdays from now, that's where we'll be. So people are digesting the picture, and I'm gonna have a horrible sports talk take this morning on that picture.
Interesting.
Okay,
go ahead. I have one that might be equally as bad.
I'm stunned that this is No, I shouldn't. I've lived here long enough.
Again, it is. We are blessed to be part of a fan base that loves anything that is GBRs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so a picture that is taken at the end of May of a stadium that all of a sudden has red end zones and has some red sidelines and pops. And by the way, the N is a little bit bigger. Did you guys notice that? The N is bigger.
No, I didn't notice
the N is bigger.
Bigger.
That was one of the takeaways in my group chat.
Was there a side-by-side photo of last year's N to this year's N?
Yes, I saw that.
Hey, Twitter. The N got blockier. It got the N technically, if it's bigger, it's blockier. Does that mean that we're going to have a suckier season? Because according to you, the skinny N means success.
Hey, the skinny N means success, but I want the block N because you know what? The skinny N on that field, even though it used to be there, the block N is more like, we're Nebraskans.
It does its literal job of being more bold.
We're Nebraskans. I'm sure the state government stops us from getting the fat shot, so we just go ahead and be fat. That's why they're changing the stadium because we're too fat. That's okay. Let's embrace it. Let's have our fat
What's
N.
the fat shot?
The fat shot. Everybody's taking the fat shot.
No, I'm not following.
You will.
You're not familiar?
Give it time.
Jardiance? Ozempic?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the fat shot is. Yeah, listen to your president the other day. He has a buddy that was over in London, and he got the fat shot for a little cheaper than he gets here in this country.
Medical marijuana.
With that said,
nope, not here.
With that said,
no, but fat shots for everybody.
I don't think everybody's built for it.
I don't think I am.
Some of us are built for. Let's go to the gym. Let's be active. But I'm not judging. So here is my takeaway from this about this picture, and I love that it pops. And I can't wait to see it in person. And again, I think the picture and then in person will be a little bit different.
Very nice.
So 2 things yesterday. By the way, that picture. And then I think I misjudged the people that are ticked off about the re-entry. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But here it is. It's very simple. And this is a terrible sports talk take, and I will hand in my Sportscaster of the Year award.
Go ahead. Can't wait.
That bad?
If Nebraska wins, you'll love the field. If Nebraska loses, you will hate the field. Thank you. It's very simple.
I've heard that before.
All right, that's we try and complicate things on this radio station, and especially my partner on this show.
A little bit, not too much, not that complicated.
You should have seen the group chat. But that's how it is. So I'm sorry, I don't have any blow you away.
Why?
But are you wrong? That's usually how it works.
No. Why can't
but
Nebraska lose?
Isn't that life? Isn't that like life?
Oh, yeah.
They can wear pink as long as they win.
Yeah.
Why can't Nebraska lose and we just go, hey, at least the field looks good?
Because we've been doing that for many,
Too
many
long.
years. I'm over that, okay? I don't know how I might be creeping onto the back nine. I may be making the turn. I may be grabbing. I may be stopping off to pee for the 4th time while I'm playing 18.
Not judging.
There on the turn, and
Sure.
I'm grabbing a hot dog, okay?
And a transfusion.
And then I'm like, okay, so I'm over that stuff. I just want to win. But if you do win, the field looks great. If you lose, you're like, Dan screwed it. Field is terrible. You know what?
Go back to
bad teams get confused and they catch balls in the back of the end zone out of bounds. Bad teams do that. Good teams don't do that. But that was another thing. Did
I've
you
seen
get
this
that?
firsthand?
Because one of the people in our group chat, and he's probably listening right now,
Sure.
way too technical. Like he was like, well, you understand if you're running a route in the back of the.
Oh my God! There's a white line.
And I'm like,
there's a white line.
I'm like,
this sounds like my friends. I respect
There's
this.
a white line.
Yes. Can we quit comparing Nebraska to Purdue, because Nebraska actually beat Purdue last year?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm also in a group chat that is mainly sports derivative. It's not full of people like you who have 3 national championships. Instead of full of people who are part of
share a crown championship.
Who
you went bowling?
that does not
You
count.
got bowling?
No.
Whoa.
No.
Bowling Dynasty.
No. They're putting a banner up in PBA.
I'm not
to
counting.
recognize the crown.
You're talking about college football national championships.
Yeah, but I
okay?
just want to be fair and balanced. And I also have a couple of volleyball championships.
Are you telling me that a crown championship counts as much as a national football championship?
I would never say that to Tommy Frazier.
Just roll with it.
Would you say that to me?
But if I was playing pickup with Bryce Williams, I would say that.
Brown noser.
The chances of one of those happening, zilch. You figure it out. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. We are a part of the 4 years of Nebraska football history that endured like the worst record of all time. We had 0 conversation about the field. Nobody commented about it. Nobody said, hey, it looks good. Nobody was like, oh, I'm worried that they're going to run out of bounds. It was I think this group chat is just at the point of like, we just want to win.
6 games.
We just want to.
Yeah,
we just want to be in the
games.
Holiday Bowl. We just want to be in the Outback Bowl.
Rest in peace, Holiday Bowl. The OG.
We just want to be in the Capital One
Big
Tax
Ten-
Slayer Bowl.
Big Ten's not even involved in that, is it?
No.
No, I'm just naming. I'm
Love
just
the
naming very.
But I would
mid
like.
bowls.
No, I'm a big fan of the Holiday Bowl. I'm a big fan of San Diego. Period. But I like that bowl. They treat you really well.
I think the Holiday Bowl was always one of the more
Chiclets.
like upper echelon, like non-New Year's Six bowls. Regardless, we just want 8 wins. Okay, we just want 8 wins. But my bad sportscaster take is black sidelines was a choice. Okay, that was like a choice. They chose like really. They could have easily have like done a green, sideline. Like they could have easily have not made it like to the point where the sun is beating down in on the black tart or the turf that makes it really, really hot. That was a calculated choice.
Now, to be fair, the other sideline has one too.
Yeah, but it's in the shade. It's in the shade. There's a big difference.
In November, it won't matter.
Probably won't matter when they're playing at 11 a.m. on Black Friday against Iowa on CBS.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Whoops.
Whoa.
Did we just let the first one slip?
Whoa.
I know what today is.
At the same time, though, that we don't play good enough opponents in September anymore for that to really like make an advantage. Like I don't think Houston Christian. I don't think we need them to be in 95-degree heat. I don't think Akron. I don't think we need Akron dying on the sidelines in order to beat them. At least I hope we don't.
If they die, would they die? We still need to score.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome in, everybody.
Dana, we need to run it up.
Coming up at 8:30, Evan Bland will join us. Nebraska baseball takes on Oklahoma tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The regionals will be here. The road to Omaha. Shout out ESPN. Ryan McGee and Kyle Peterson doing a special on 75 years of the College World Series today on ESPN2. ESPN is smart. They are going all in on their college baseball coverage. Their bases loaded, which is one of the best things that ESPN does. They have gone all in on college baseball, and I'm here for it. But tomorrow is the day that the road to Omaha begins for both Nebraska and Creighton, and Evan Bland will join us. I believe Evan, do we know this, Jimmy? Is Evan going to be in Chapel Hill?
I would hope.
I've given up trying to guess because I always guess wrong. Knowing the state of the business, I'll always err with no. But he could surprise us. Yeah, I don't know.
Evan will join us coming up at 8:30 to discuss why you start an ace and maybe why you hold an ace, which Oklahoma is going to do. Or they're thinking Nebraska will get confused by which brother it is. So Evan will join us at 8:30. Steve Sipple stops by at 9:15 to defend Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples. Once again, just kidding. And then Brian Edwards is in at 9:45. Very happy man because Alex Condon is returning to Florida, and that helps the Gators' chances to repeat in college basketball, which late last night, the NBA draft deadline to stay in or leave expired. And the SEC had a good day yesterday. Really, really good day yesterday. College basketball. And I know there's a lot of moving parts and moving players, and nobody addresses the bigger problem in college athletics is unlimited transfers. You can have the NIL. The NIL isn't the problem, boys and girls. It is unlimited transfers. College baseball or college basketball has an opportunity to be really, really good next year. The amount of talent that did not stay in to be a second-round pick or an undrafted NBA.
Exciting.
Yeah, the SEC had a good day yesterday, but college basketball this upcoming year could be really, really good because of, the NIL. But, we got some dudes that pulled their name out of the draft that normally would stay in.
When is college football going to follow that? Because, we got second-round picks who are staying in because they know that they can make more money. I don't think we've seen that yet with college football with fifth-round picks and sixth-round picks, especially quarterbacks who are like, you know what? I know I can get drafted. I'm going to stay another year so I can make $6 million.
Well, don't you think it's also a little bit of the guys in college football have been in school for minimum 2, maybe 3 years.
Sure.
And so it's time to move on. Like where basketball guys are one and done or they're 2-year guys. And I also think if you get drafted in the 5th round, even if like your Quinn Ewers, there's a pretty good chance you're going to make the 53. Where in basketball, the roster is a little bit limited. So maybe that changes your opinion a bit. So that's maybe why we haven't seen it.
Maybe you're sick and tired of college at a certain point and you're ready to like move on.
I was about day 3, but go on.
I sophomore year, I was about done. And then
at least the school part.
These people that take college, that want to get school done in 3.5 years and they take like 20 hours. Why? You know what? You're not for me.
That.
Okay, why?
You miss everything.
Why?
There
Lots of fun.
was a girl that I knew that I was friends with who she graduated in 2.5 years because she was paying extra for school in the summer. Yeah. I was like,
that's like getting married at 19.
Take a break. Well, dude, that is, 3 people I know have gotten engaged in the last 3 weeks.
Let's check back on them.
Congratulations to them. You're that age. You're 23. So a lot of people are out of college. They got their first job and they're
in a hurry to grow up.
High school sweetheart.
Life is hitting me like a truck. Okay, I'm
worse.
I'm
one of them, Maisie Bosinger from Nebraska volleyball.
No, but
her fiance, great dude. They got engaged in Hawaii. So congratulations to the future. I won't mention his last name because I don't want people to dox him, but he's a really good dude.
That I don't know them personally, but that was one that popped up on my Instagram that I was like, there we go. There's another college person getting married, and I'm just like a single loser.
You're 23
no prospects.
in radio. You're fine.
My mother wants grandchildren, Jimmy.
Well, you know what? Here's my old man looking at young people take. More people are waiting to get married, and they're having less kids, or having no kids.
Well, the population rate. Or the repopulation rate. That's all I see on Twitter nowadays. On the very limited parts of political Twitter that I'm on, that's what I see a lot. Is all the repopulation is going down and we're all screwed and society is going.
You see that on your political Twitter?
Well, Elon Musk.
Is that a political thing?
Elon Musk tweets about it, and so like I don't know if I follow
Twitter and your Instagram.
He tweeted yesterday.
I don't know if I saw that specific tweet. I don't know if there was anything notable that I saw from Elon yesterday. But I don't follow him yet. His tweets just pop up, and I just read them. And
he owns the platform that you're currently on.
He's kind of like the
I don't follow him, but he does happen to slip into my.
I always see
for
his tweets.
you and following.
I do. He's the U2 of Twitter. You know how U2 just popped in your Apple Music? Elon just pops in my timeline.
Good on you. Hey. Good on you for mentioning U2.
Why are they on tour now, or did they do something?
No. Were they the first to have a residency at the Sphere?
No, I thought that was the Eagles.
No, it wasn't the
It
Eagles.
was either or. It was one of those. But U2 is supposed to be coming out with a new album. And on a side note, because it's turned into Random Thursday.
Mike?
Just seeing the opening weekend of Kenny Chesney at the Sphere. The people that won our contest, shout out Jason.
Had a good time.
You are going to love that concert. It looks great on what Kenny Chesney had last week to open up. But U2 is coming out with a new album. Bono, who backed up Bruce Springsteen, sticking with political takes, said there's only one boss in America. They are coming out with a new album.
U2,
Bruce Springsteen.
U2, then it was Fish, then it was the Eagles.
Okay.
At the Sphere.
I remember Fish a year ago at this time.
Fish?
Yes. After we lost Bill. Yeah.
Do you know
Brian Fisher, former...
remember him.
Yeah.
Derek Fisher? Matt Barnes?
Yeah. Hey, this time of the year, that's a bad memory. I was in Waco, Texas when they hit that shot.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were in Waco, Texas when Matt Barnes traveled to beat the crap out of Derek Fisher.
No, he was talking about point four. I threw a stool against the wall and shattered it.
Back to
Anger
Quinn,
issues.
Back to Quinn Ewers and NFL quarterbacks. I just feel like they wouldn't enter the draft in the 5th round because they can make $7 million. Like I feel like the $6 million discrepancy of like making $1 million a year as a 5th round draft pick and making $7 million to be like the face of college football would force at least some of these guys to like go back. I guess it happened with Beck.
Maybe if Arch Manning was not at Texas, that would have changed Ewers. Because you'd be the quarterback at Texas, you're going to make some money. But having Arch Manning there, then you would have had to go into the portal, and you probably were not going to make as much because you have no leverage.
What do you think is more exhausting, going into the portal to find a new college or going through the NFL draft process?
The NFL draft process.
Yeah.
Because that's a job interview after job interview.
I gotta think
the portal. I think
stressful.
The portal you can control basically where you go. If you are good enough to go through the NFL draft process, you're good enough to go through the portal. You can pick in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't have a pick in the NFL draft process. All right, that's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Lots to discuss. And what happened on the hard court last night. Part of the NBA and NHL finals are set.
Didn't know they played a game last night. I checked the score at the end of the first quarter, so we're done here.
Hey, but this is the day that we all look forward to. This is the Joey Colbert day because we will have a dump, and I mean a dump, of week 0 through week 3 kicks and networks and the Friday games, which should include Nebraska, Iowa on Big Friday or Black Friday, and also if there will be a road game for Nebraska on a Friday night. All of that stuff is scheduled to come out throughout the day. I'm here for it. I don't know why the Big Ten Network is not live. Why are they not live?
We say that often from about March on.
I was about to say, they're with how much programming they have to fill, they'd rather make a bunch of documentaries and vignettes.
All right, off and running. If you'd like to join the show for the fun and frivolity of a Thursday, and if you're the guy that I talked to this morning at the intersection, feel free on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline. I'll tell you what our conversation was when we come back. 402-951-1620. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox at Gary at 1620thezone.com, Matt at 1620thezone.com, or on the X or Twitter, whatever you prefer feed. I know, you rolled your eyes, Jimmy. Still Twitter to me.
Guys will always be Twitter.
Still it's Twitter to me.
It's still a cesspool. Always be
at
my
Gary
cesspool.
Sharp 1620 or at Matt McMedia. Gary, Matt, and Jimmy here for you on a Thursday on 1620 The Zone. All right, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back in. Gary and Matt. Jimmy here as well. To kick off your Thursday, nooner today for the Women's College World Series. So Jordy Ball won it's the end of the year, so all the different organizations have a All-American team. She did win a National Player of the Year.
Shout out the NFCA.
What does that stand for? National Fast Pitch?
I think so. I have
no
clue.
What's the C?
Coaches Association?
National Fast Pitch. National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. Does college softball? I need to ask Iowa JD. By the way,
wow, good poll. National Fast Pitch Coaches Association.
I need to ask Iowa JD. And by the way, when should I do this? 8:00. I have some pretty significant local softball news for y'all coming up at 8:00. But do college coaches like their sport to be referred to as fast pitch?
Ooh, I would not know. I knew softball players growing up, and they never told me that they played fast pitch.
Yeah.
Like they're like, no, I'm a softball player, or I play softball. Or like I had multiple friends whose dads were coaches. They were never like, oh, I'm a fast pitch coach. They were like, I'm a softball coach. So I don't think so. I think fast pitch is a very under the radar. Probably, I think.
Men's fast pitch and women's fast pitch above the college level. It's pretty impressive to watch. So congratulations to Jordy Ball. College World Series for the women begin in Oklahoma City. The road to Omaha begins tomorrow. Nebraska plays at 4. Creighton plays at 7. And I don't know if this gentleman this morning, so I'm driving to work, and it's still a little chilly outside, but it's bright out. Weather's going to warm up. We're the end of May.
90.
I don't know where the time is going, but 13 Thursdays from now, we'll be doing some football. Stopped at a light, and a guy rolls up.
You can see now a little more with
extra
daylight.
And I'm very observant. So I take the same route to work every day, and I'm very observant. And usually it's the same people that are out running or out walking their dog. And I know now the bus schedule, because if I hit a certain light at 6 in the morning, there's going to be an Orbit bus come by me. Also, I will be able to turn right on Dodge and then turn left into this fine facility.
Sure.
If it's at 6, because there's no traffic coming from towards downtown. So I'm at a stoplight this morning, and in the turn, and I'm going straight, and this guy pulls up in the turn lane, and I almost turned my car off and got out and walked over to his window to have a discussion.
What did he have dice hanging from the window?
No.
Did he have Did he have truck nuts?
No, he did not. And I would not.
Wow.
I would not. I'm probably not. I have a lot of Neanderthal friends. I probably don't have anybody that has the truck nuts.
Okay.
Or has the bumper sticker in the back window that has like you're urinating on Oklahoma.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
How's my driving 1-800-EAT?
I've always liked those ones. Those have always been great.
Most of my friends that have those type of stickers have the family sticker.
I was about to
where
say,
you have the husband and the wife, and then you have the kids, stickers. And then all of a sudden the wife is scratched out. Those are probably more likely.
Then there's friends. 4 dogs added.
Yeah. So this guy pulls up, and I was like, oh my, there's got to be a story here. He rolls up in an old Schwan's truck. If you know, you know.
Hell yes.
So
love the pizza.
It was the Schwan's truck with all of the logos off. So he bought it somewhere like Schwan's, which is not as big as it used to be, and that's a shame. Because banger of chicken breasts and other things that when they stop at the Sharpie household in Urbandale. So he rolls up in it, and I hope he's listening. I gave him a honk, and I made the motion to roll down the window because I said, "Where did you get that?"
You're like, I want one right now.
He couldn't. I don't think he heard exactly what I said, and he just smiled and he said, "Hey." And then he drove on.
Oh.
And I now want to search for this guy because it was
glorious
nostalgia. I'm like, oh.
Is it a poultry truck?
No, the Schwan's man.
The Schwan's man.
When you're in your 20s and radio Chicago? And you're on limited budget, hell yes, those frozen pizzas were money.
So all of the Schwan's logos were off, but you know how he had the freezer. Yeah, those are still intact. And I'm like, I wanted to have a conversation because like, is that your main vehicle? Because if that is, I will love you a long time. So if you're listening, I was not creepy. I was just
50th and Dodge.
I was admiring your rig.
Can you imagine pulling that up to the DMV, getting that registered? Everybody just around you, probably like you, incredibly nostalgic looking at that thing. Explain to me what this is. It says ice cream on it, but then there's also like a picture of salmon. So is it like
that's one of the flavors of the ice cream?
Is it an all-purpose looking truck here? What are we like? Was there a restaurant in there? Like, what are we? It says ice cream and delicious entrees. Do you cook? Is it a food truck or does it drop things off?
It is before
my time.
Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised you don't know this.
I've never heard of this before. It looks like there's a lot of doors on this truck.
If you were my age, at this age right now, you would know the Schwansman. You would be a frequent customer.
There is a lot of side doors on this thing.
They were a food delivery service.
A lot of options.
But there's like 8 doors.
Fantastic.
They were shout out but I think they've been sold, but they started in Marshall, Minnesota. So when I was a little bit younger, Grandpa and Grandma had a cabin in Faribault and outside of Faribault, and we went to Marshall and we drove by the Schwan's plant. They were a food delivery service,
okay.
But you know, like pizza and frozen foods and ice cream. But they would go around your neighborhood. Now they were not the ding ding man.
Yeah.
Okay, they were not the ice cream truck. But they would have scheduled stops, and the guy Corey was the guy's name.
Mine was Phil.
And you knew the Schwan's guy, and he would roll up to your house on a regular schedule, and you'd have the order, and you would fill out the order. He'd go out to his truck. He'd get all the order ready for you, and he'd bring it in the house. It was fantastic. And I have not seen, I know they're still around because periodically I'll see a Schwan's truck on the roads here in Omaha. But seeing this guy this morning with a Schwan's truck that he had bought, like, I don't know, an auction or something, and all the logos were off, I'm like, my man.
He clearly was inspired.
Yeah.
Clearly had a great childhood. Is there a fast food restaurant that could pull this off right now? Can you imagine if Chick-fil-A did this? If there was like just
like $30.
If there was like a Chick-fil-A truck that just went around the town.
Not on Sunday.
And just dropped off.
Well, they have I think that's where DoorDash and Uber Eats.
We got to get to
the descendants.
We're gonna get to the point where all these fast food places start cutting the head off of DoorDash, right? Where they just start doing their own thing.
No, have you been to Chick-fil-A lately? Chick-fil-A, especially the one here on Dodge, has to be one of the busiest like DoorDash, Uber Eats place because I like to go in.
Really?
Well, sometimes I go through the drive-through because those people that run the drive-through at Chick-fil-A should run the country.
They are
as efficient as they are. But I like sometimes to go in. But anytime I've gone into a Chick-fil-A, there are at least 3 or 4 people in my time in line before I order and go to my seat that come in to pick up orders. And Chick-fil-A is like really, really quick. I don't think they have it made, but they don't like put it out. Like a lot of places put it out on a shelf and you just walk in and
you grab it.
Yeah, and you scan
people steal
or whatever
it all the time.
and you grab it and you go. So I think Chick-fil-A, like that has to be the busiest, at least in my experience in Omaha, of the DoorDash, Uber Eats.
I think I've walked into a fast food restaurant like once in the last year.
But see, I don't eat in my car.
I only eat in my car.
You keep it smelling and looking nice.
Well, that's how I like my previous vehicle. I ate a lot in my car, and I'm like,
I eat so much in my car. I eat too much in my car. But I'm like I need my food hot. Like there's no such thing as warm for me. Like I need, like Gordon Ramsay says, piping hot. I need my thing to like be burning the roof of my mouth. Like that's just how I eat my food. I got to take it out of that wrapper. I smack it right away. Right. I'm not like dipping my hand in the bag, like trying to get the fries.
Steering wheels covered with grease and barbecue sauce.
That's how you get in accidents. I've never been in an accident in my life. I nearly went into oncoming.
Knock on wood.
I've nearly went into oncoming traffic trying to grab fries out of a bag. We'll never do that again. Never do that again.
Howard Hughes had an idea by just staying reclusive.
Perform safe fast food eating in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Just park the car and eat.
All right, let's share our
Schwan's memories.
Tyler says yes. Push-ups, push pops, ice cream sandwiches, chicken nuggets, drove out to the farm in Hardington.
Why doesn't anybody do this anymore?
Because life sucks now. It used to be better back then.
Is that really the reason?
That's probably. I guess.
Hey, this is the show about keeping it simple. Don't overreact to a football field in Lincoln. Corey says,
don't make a tier list of all the comedians ever made.
Corey says the frozen breakfast pizzas, 90s staple in every Midwest home.
Not my Midwest.
They were nice. They were nice and circular, and you threw them in the microwave. Oh,
kids nowadays
those like breaded chicken sandwiches. Yeah.
Schwan of the frozen burritos.
Kids nowadays don't have ice cream trucks. I haven't seen the ice cream truck in Skokie, Illinois.
You still have them where I come from.
Every single Thursday.
Extra
and you would be waiting there around like 4:00 and you would hear the music piping through. It'd even like get through your house and you'd like run out the door and you'd go to the ice cream truck. I have not heard an ice cream truck pop through my neighborhood in quite some time. I don't even see them on the road anymore.
Slip them a 20, a little something extra.
How are kids supposed to grow up without ice cream trucks?
They're still around here, but you also got to remember, there are pools that are not open because it's still cold.
That's a good point.
And school just got out. So, yes, their ice cream trucks are still around here. Not as much as they used to. And now it'll be time to revisit the Eddie Murphy sketch. A couple other things here on the old Twitter machine. Sean says... I'm not going to read that. That's okay. That's about divorce. Zach says...
that was a response to me.
How about the Big Ten showing more baseball, too, while we're at it?
I know.
So we tuned, after I read Zach's tweet, tuned into the Big Ten Network, and they're showing the Maryland spring game. We never really got into the past weekend of the Big Ten coverage of the baseball tournament.
Yeah.
Scott Pose's hair. Former Dowling Maroon.
Yeah.
He was the analyst. By the way, Dana Hughes going to be the analyst on ESPN Plus with Wes Durham. Good crew down in Chapel Hill. But nobody ever brought up Scott Pose's hair?
I didn't see Scott Pose's hair all weekend.
It looked like he rolled out of bed every day. And then I saw it up close, and I'm like, no, that's his hairstyle.
So it looked like my hair?
It was like, his hair was like really, really poofy.
If you're on TV... I feel like that gives you a pretty damn good excuse to like coif your hair or like get your hair done. You know, like I don't know.
I think that was his look. Up close, I was like, "Whoa,
is messy hair back?"
For guys,
yeah, I've seen it more and more.
I think it depends on the age.
I think it's more social. Oh, whoa! So like, you got to be younger in order to have
the messy hair in my 20s.
Because if I walked in with messy hair, and that'd be crazy.
You don't.
Thank you. People think
I held back.
Old man, what is going on? Hey. Maybe mixed in a shower, like young kids.
Maybe
you might like. You're like, hey, that's cool. That's cool because that's what I did when I was younger and had hair.
You could do it, Matt. Especially when you let it grow. Yeah, let that.
I'm kind of a city slicker right now. I got the coiffed back hair. It's coming in. I got the lettuce coming from the back. It's going to be a great summer.
You look like the '93 Phillies.
Sergeant Holka's big toe.
What up, Don?
Says since we're old enough, do you remember the King in his court softball exhibitions? Yes, he and his 4 fielders beat up on actual teams. Wasn't Eddie? God, what was I think it was God, what was the legend? Pretty sure it was, first name was Eddie, right? Yeah, Eddie Feiner. And he'd go around the country doing these exhibition games where it was King in his court. They came to my hometown once. But like the late 40s, maybe mid 80s, they were done. That's when we had the King in his court in softball, and then we had Max Patkin.
This truck, by the way, that they tweeted at us,
yeah.
We need to somehow get this and have this be the new Zone Mobile.
Have a Schwan's truck?
Hell yes.
If this guy would have not just said, hey, and not known what I was asking, or if I was really, really creepy, we could have found out where he purchased his Schwan's
You could have been best friends.
This particular one is in Mesa, Arizona. So
Jim goes,
what's the price there?
$11,999.
Hey, that's purchasable. That's not bad.
I'm watching a lot of Prices Right while I was laid up. So
Jim goes, Matt, think like the frozen food truck or the frozen foods aisle of Costco on a truck that comes to your house.
Yes, that's a great way to describe Schwan's.
I'm not a big Costco guy. I haven't been to Costco. Can't get the membership.
Here is Scott on the Prairie Flower Casino Hotline. Good morning, Scott.
Morning, guys.
Please tell me you're Schwan's driver.
Northeast Nebraska.
Yes.
I don't remember his name. I haven't been on the farm since the 80s. But I remember distinctly because my father loved ice cream. The 2.5 or 3 gallon tin of vanilla ice cream. It came in a metal tin, no plastic.
Yes.
And then my mother, since I grew up in a small town, couldn't get any like seafood at the grocery store in town.
Mm-hmm.
She would buy lobster tails for my mom and dad's anniversary. And I remember that's the two things I remember about the Schwan's, man.
That's awesome.
And it was a staple. I also remember my mom and dad leaving a signed check for the Schwan's man and a list, and he just filled out the rest.
Hey,
the amount. That happened a dozen times at least.
So
what a great country.
Both my parents worked, and that happened a couple of times where they just left a blank check.
That's funny.
And they let Corey, our Schwan's guy, fill it in. I just had to give it to him and also accept the order. That is awesome. Scott, thanks for the phone call. Jerry writes in to the Equitable Bank inbox.
This is great.
You're making me crave chocolate marshmallow ice cream.
Oh,
hell yes.
Does anyone even make it anymore? They had the best chocolate marshmallow ever.
Does Oberweis? I think Oberweis has a chocolate marshmallow ice cream. I don't know if you can buy it in the grocery store, but I know if you go to an Oberweis like ice cream shop, you can.
Don't have them here.
I don't know what this is.
It's a damn shame. So
sounds like some sort of sauerkraut.
I've only seen one. I've only ever seen one Oberweis chocolate like ice cream shop before, and I think they had something like that. We don't get enough marshmallow flavors have kind of gone by the wayside,
and that's the big takeaway here.
That's the biggest takeaway here.
That'll be on take 5. Should be.
Why s'mores Pop-Tarts are the best.
This could go over bad.
No. I'm not opposed. I would have a couple that are above that.
Cinnamon
would be above that.
Strawberry
is always number one.
The Oreo.
No. It doesn't. I don't think it transfers over to the Pop-Tart.
You know what? Cookies and cream doesn't need to be in every single flavor.
That is true. That's a good food take. That's a solid anti-1620 the zone food take. Here's the other thing about the Schwan guy. When he come to your house, they always wearing the crisp blue uniform, the blue button-down, long sleeve shirt. Sometimes in the summer,
they look presentable, unlike people on TV with bad hair.
Hey, they were going quick. And
no, you're right.
And
coaches used to wear suits in basketball.
Oh my God.
And then people in your neighborhood, like if the Schwan guy, when he stopped at our house, the Wonderlands, who were 2 houses down, very jealous. I think they became a customer because we were. Oh,
somebody tried to steal your Schwan's thunder.
They wanted to get in on Corey's. Corey thought he had, he was just doing the sharps on Maryland Drive.
This sounds like a drug deal.
Here is
that was
Jill
my neighborhood.
To finish the hour. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning. Some of the other guys stole mine with the chocolate marshmallow ice cream.
Okay.
But I also remember the pizza burgers. It's like 2 hamburgers with I'm sure it was just a slice of mozzarella cheese in the middle, but it was spectacular.
Oh, man. Okay. This
has been a
nice
today.
Nostalgia hour. Jill, thank you for the call. Have a wonderful Thursday.
I take back the F words I said when the alarm went off this morning. It's been a great day.
I feel like every call, Hogan comes down the ramp, Stone Cold comes down the ramp. Holy crap, it's Mick Foley. Just memory after memory, item after item.
Just keep it simple.
Keep
it. We complicate things so
this
much.
Sounds like
just
legal.
Keep it simple.
This sounds like legal drug dealing. Like, hey, we're just gonna leave you a blank check. Hey, don't talk to that. Don't give them our secret stuff over there.
But here,
you just show up and say, hey, just show up. It'll be at your house, no problem.
Also, that was back in the day where we left our houses unlocked and we left the keys in the car, and also
kids were gone for 4 days at a time
until the lights came
or kids were roaming the neighborhood because they were out playing and they could be out, this time of the year past 10 o'clock. Now you don't hardly ever see that.
NBA
your school looked like an ICU unit with all the casks and the slings and everything like that.
The Schwan's guy came into the neighborhood and he was like the most trustworthy guy because you saw him once a week. Yeah. There we go.
They would have liked it, Matt. I'm telling you.
This just sounds like DoorDash, grocery DoorDash with courtesy, with class. It just sounds like classy DoorDash groceries.
We were a classy
No, you
society.
know what? Comparing it to the Oklahoma City Thunder, no. You know what the Oklahoma City Thunder are? They're Schwan's, because Schwan's was not expensive. They're going to be a non-luxury tax world champion.
Come on, Curse of the Sun. I know
Schwan's didn't have a true face. It didn't have that just one item.
What? And they had more than a big 3. You know what? And they played relentless defense. When people were trying to get in their territory, their sales territory, Schwan said, no, we're going to up the game.
Not everybody's sure who's the most valuable item in the Schwan's truck.
By the way, you could tell Midwestern homes if you open up the freezer and everything was in a Schwan's bag. Yes. All right, one of the books, another hour to come. Evan Bland, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards today on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. What if you did it probably would not be a great like radio station show.
Okay.
But what if you just did a podcast and all you talked about was stuff in the 70s? You know, they have 70s Sports, the popular Twitter account. And the guy behind that actually has a show on Outkick now. But
he's right. Bring back the GD
What if you
Sonics.
just did like because, sports talk wasn't around in the 70s, and you just did a sports talk show that was nothing about, the only thing it was about things that happened in the 70s, like you'd break down games in the 70s, you'd talk about moments in the 70s.
Why can't the Vikings ever win a Super Bowl?
You'd have a daily podcast, and you would follow like a year in the 70s and break down games and the Lakers and the Celtics and talk about Bill Russell and all of that kind of stuff.
Why can't the Bullets be a dynasty?
I'll take you one step further. How about you just pretend you're in the 70s? For like, you just start on January 1st, 1970, and you hit the air as if you just watched a 70s basketball game the day before, and like you just had all the news.
65 toss
day.
Power trap. Just remember that.
And you were just you just pretended, and like it was just honestly like a Broadway show just every day,
like that,
of like, hey, this is what it would be like if we were doing sports talks in the 70s. Like you would just get a guy get really, really pissed over John Havlicek and like what he did last night.
You know what? Athletes in the 70s and the 80s missed out on the beauty of sports talk and hot takes, and I think we owe it to them. I think we
don't need a 3-point line in the NBA
to go back and revisit their moments in time and to give our hot takes.
Can you imagine though? Like you're like, well, I just got off the phone with Red Auerbach, and like
that'd be amazing.
And
it was an amazing call.
It was, yeah. I can't
believe the Bullets are moving from Baltimore to Washington.
And you got Red, that doofus, smoking the cigar on the other end of the court. You know what, Red? How about we make sure that we're up before we start smoking the cigars and making us look bad?
Do you even listen to Heinsohn when he's calling in a game? He's a terrible coach.
And it would be sponsored by Schwan's.
Can you
imagine in 70? They're like, man, like I like Earl Monroe's as much as the next guy, but he's not the best player on a championship team. Okay, he can't be that guy.
I go Joe Gilliam over Bradshaw every day of the week.
Everything like that. Let me tell you, it's Clyde's team. It's Clyde's team.
Shout out to our streamers that are up with us early. The home of the Dreadnoughts, Kevin in Lakeland, Florida, home of Tiger Town, the spring training home of the Detroit Tigers. Eric, morning, said no one takes their food home to eat in front of the TV.
No.
Sad.
I don't know if it's a now thing or a young people thing, but I can't do warm food. Like I can do like okay, I'm sorry.
I'm listening.
I can obviously do warm food, but I just think the quality of food is way higher when it's just like right out. Like, give it like a minute. Obviously, you don't want to burn your face off, but like,
I don't think that's a terrible take.
There is like a 3-minute period that you have where your food is hot enough where it's just going to taste the absolute best, and you have to maximize.
My grandpa was like that. Except he was minutes. A POW. That's why.
And I think fast food has done a great job of like, as soon as you get the burger, you are in that window. There is nothing worse though than when you take a bite of a fast food item and it's like cold in the middle. Like I get shivers thinking about that.
That would be food poisoning.
Or maybe they just didn't put it in the microwave long enough.
Ooh. Are you exposing fast food places that
McDonald's wraps up their cheeseburger and they put it in the microwave for 10 seconds.
Mayor McCheese, he'll come after you.
That's how they like melt the cheese a little bit and get it a little bit hotter it's a known thing.
Isn't that a little bit scary to put the wrapper in the microwave?
Yeah, I almost found out the hard way.
I think it would be scarier to just put a unprotected cheeseburger in the microwave.
You want to practice safe burgers.
Safe burgers. Safe burgers is great burgers.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about McDonald's. So they microwave everything?
No, they like cook the food. The food is like cooked. But they like when they do all the toppings, they wrap it up and they pop it in the microwave for like a very low amount of time.
Now do nuggets. Let's try that.
Just warm it up. Just get it a little bit warmer.
So
not to like cook it.
So when you go to McDonald's, would you ask them to give it like another 10 seconds in the microwave?
No, I think it's perfect. I've never had a problem with like McDonald's heat. I've always had a problem with Burger King heat. It's Burger King.
But I thought it was your way.
No, it's their way. It's their way or the highway. You order at Burger King, Jesus take the wheel. Hopefully I'll get what I get and it'll taste good.
Coming up at some point this morning. Hold on here. Let me
check. You did nothing. It's 8:08.
Yeah, we got nothing, man. What are people doing in the college football world where we do not have kick times for at least one game? Okay, I know 8 o'clock, 13 Thursdays from now, 8 o'clock.
Do they not know
ESPN.
we have a show?
Yes. You know what? let's do not all of a sudden do this at 10:05. But today, we know for sure that week 0 through 3, kick times and networks will be announced. So Nebraska will find out the Akron game, which I would prefer your home opener to always be at night. If it's on the Big Ten Network, so be it. But a 6 o'clock kickoff
be warm
on BTN would be fabulous to open up the home season. Houston Christian, I mean, let's throw them a bone. Let's play that game at 2:30 and let's stick on BTN. Or you know what? Why don't you throw it on the Plus? Do a little Peacock. Do a little Peacock and Plus.
That would be a Peacock game.
Just, you know what? Streaming only. But that feels like and I haven't looked at that week in particular with the Big Ten schools.
Do a throwback. 1 o'clock, no TV.
That feels like a 2:30 Big Ten Network game. But give me a night game for Akron, and then probably.
Do you think?
I think Black Friday is
11.
Now, if you're Nebraska, you don't want a night game.
Why is that?
Because it's dark at night. Kids are afraid of the dark.
Because Nebraska Penn State volleyball play on the same day.
Good call.
So your ideal setup, if you're Nebraska for that day, not everybody's fired about an 11 a.m. Black Friday game, would be 2:30, and then you roll into a 7 p.m. Nebraska Penn State volleyball match.
Nice turkey tailgate.
I would prefer for the NFL game's sake, I would prefer an 11 a.m. kick or a 7 p.m. kick for Nebraska on Black Friday. But because I really want to watch my team get their what's pounded by the Philadelphia Eagles at 2 o'clock that day.
Wouldn't this do you a favor then to watch the Huskers instead?
Black Friday could be like one of the worst days of my life. Wow. That could end up being, especially if there's a lot of stakes for Nebraska.
I'm sorry.
That could be one of the higher stake football days of my entire existence. Like if Nebraska is like hypothetically 9-2, right? And it's like you'll win and you're in the college football playoff. And then, like, if the Bears are also 9-2, and it's like, hey, you'll win this and you can get a 1 seed in the playoffs, and then they both just go, hey,
they're not going to be 9-2.
You have no right.
My team sucks. I know this.
You have zero right. You are a Cowboys fan.
I have faith in the Huskers. I do not have faith in the Bears. I can see the Huskers being 9-2, but not the Bears.
I'm the opposite. I could definitely.
I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying I can see it.
I had a what if we won the Super Bowl thought the other day. That's how bad we're getting. But at the same time,
that's okay. This is the time of the year to dream.
Yes, I guess you have to dream.
Do you foresee any Big Ten or any Peacock games on this Nebraska schedule? Because I see at least I see one.
It feels like there's at least one. Well, there will be one. Here's the other part of the schedule, and again, everything that is being reported is at week 0 through 3. So we won't know the Michigan game.
Okay.
But you are rooting for Fox to fall in love with Scott Frost.
With UCF?
Yep, UCF North Carolina that day. So then Nebraska's in play for a 2:30 on CBS or a night game on NBC against Michigan.
So we're rooting for Scott Frost now?
We are rooting for Scott Frost.
He did win a championship in Nebraska.
God.
We want Fox to love Scott Frost. We want Joel Klatt to revisit his love for Scott Frost and say, you know what? North Carolina and Central Florida look like a banger of a football game. That one is for us at big noon.
Should we just start sending anonymous emails to Fox being like, look at all the storylines. Bill Belichick, this will be his first real test in the Big 12. And then you also have to look at Scott Frost returning to the place. He had so much success. You guys have to go there.
Well, I think it'll be there. Because it'll probably make sense today because Michigan, Oklahoma will come out. Sure. And where will that be going?
Let me look at the UCLA football schedule real quick.
Why?
And then also
UCF.
Also, if what Fox decides to do in week 2 and week 3, they may elect because they may be looking down the road going, we're going to have enough of Michigan and a couple of Nebraska games that this is our opportunity to get Belichick. Because we can't go to Chapel Hill and do a Belichick game, but him coming to a Big 12 school, we are able to do that. So that's, hey, Fox, love some Scott Frost. I know I know you had a big build-up when Oklahoma was here, and you're all fired up, and you got here and Scott wasn't coaching. Okay, but be fired up for Scott Frost.
So if North Carolina beats TCU to begin the season, I could definitely foresee that being a Fox wanting to get North Carolina UCF.
Yeah, and you take your pregame show there.
That'll be undefeated versus undefeated with two coaches that have probably if we're talking about new coaches this year, are there two new coaches that have more intriguing storylines? Maybe Rich Rod going back to West Virginia. But outside of that, I don't think there's two better stories in terms of intrigue, in terms of new coaches. So that would be great. I want a night game for Michigan so badly. Because there also would be that like weird storyline of like the last time or like 2 times ago or the last time they were there for a night game, how electric it was. You want to like redeem the fact that that's a game that you definitely should have won, right? And also too, this will be the first, if Nebraska ends up beating Cincinnati, it will be the biggest game of the Matt Rule tenure up to that point. Chance to go 4-0. Beat a Big Ten blue blood.
I think the next game is always the biggest game. Thank you. I'm keeping it simple today.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Your simple take day.
I don't think the Houston Christian game is the biggest game.
Not with that
until they get upset.
Until it's 7-3 at the end of the first half.
I've been in that stadium. I remember Georgia Southern.
Northern Illinois.
I was there too. We were both there.
So, with this program, even though
Troy,
a little bit more optimism, and they might be able to avoid landmines. Until they avoid a landmine, I am not counting on anything. Is Joey here today?
No, he'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, so he can come in. He can break down week 0 through 3. But here's another part of the discussion between Fox and ESPN and the Big Ten and the SEC. And do we have another day of the SEC meetings in Destin?
I think this is the 4th day. Right?
I think they do it on Thursday because
they got there on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sankey talks all the time. He has never met a microphone that he runs away from.
I think it's over by Friday, if I remember.
That's correctly. A long time to stay in Destin.
Darn, must be rough.
But
there are multiple. I think there are some SEC YouTube channels that are currently live from Destin right now.
Hey, Feinbaum is perfect for the SEC.
Feinbaum looks good. He's got a tan going right now. I saw some videos of him. It's looking fresh.
Yeah. But the discussion yesterday included the Big Ten, of course, and all of college football. And if we're even going to have college football anymore, if we're just going to just read Phil Steele magazines and not play the games and only play the games in December. The discussion from Brian Kelly about Big Ten and SEC playing each other, here's the thing. The Big Ten doesn't need the SEC.
No.
Here's what happened. The playing field got leveled where stuff you could do in the SEC that nobody else was doing because at least they were a little bit above board. Now the playing field is leveled and the SEC is not happy and the Big Ten is taking advantage of it. I know the Big Ten and the SEC are together and they're going to call it the Power 2. Big Ten doesn't need the SEC. The SEC needs the Big Ten. And you know what? Because of what the Big Ten has done the last 2 years of winning the national championship and that the playing field is leveled, they have forced the SEC to get out of their lane and to talk about possibly going to 9 because of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Good on you, Big Ten. All 18 schools take a victory lap because that conference, the behemoth in the South, you don't need them. You eventually do, but the Big Ten doesn't need the SEC like the SEC needs the Big Ten. And I didn't think a couple years ago I'd be saying that. That's where we're at.
You have football coaches talking about the baseball conferences and the basketball conference in the SEC at their spring meetings. Has that happened before where they're bringing up like cross sports in order to like justify certain cases about how good the conference is? Like it's desperation. The SEC is the cool kid in high school who's lost a lot of popularity, who is now grasping for straws to get it back and is doing everything they possibly can to be the top dog again. What they should just do is go back to what they were doing best and just play high quality football and beat the crap out of teams. Yet they're too concerned with optics and think that their words matter.
Well, they want to find they had advantages and they still have some built-in advantages just because of where the majority of their schools are located in population bases where a lot of people are moving to.
Yeah.
But the playing field is leveled.
It'd be incredible.
And everybody can pay players now.
Yeah.
And people can pay their staffs. And there is TV money, and there's more TV money in the Big Ten. And the SEC is really, really uncomfortable. And I'm here for it. And I said yesterday, it'd be nice to have the Big Ten kind of be out in the front and have Tony Petitti talk. I kind of like the Big Ten feels to me like a little silent assassin behind the scenes, while the SEC is trying to find the right words and they're stumbling over themselves. They're being forced to do things that the Big Ten has put in play. Michigan and Ohio State have broken the SEC. Whole question?
I think Vanderbilt has broken the SEC.
Whoa. How has Vanderbilt broken the SEC?
Because
you don't want them to break the SEC if you're in the SEC because they're part of the SEC.
They've broken the SEC because if they don't beat Alabama, Alabama gets into the college football playoff as a 10-2 football team. And we just chalk the Oklahoma loss as, oh, it happens. It's a bad loss. Look at Ohio State. It happened to them in Michigan. No big deal. And they're probably not even complaining about the parameters.
I think Vanderbilt, what they did is great for the SEC, actually.
Why do you them winning is great for the SEC? Because it proves that they're a deep conference?
They are yes, but it also can help them down the road if Vanderbilt is a viable football product and not a 4-8 program. They're a 7-5 program. And so you can use that justification if by chance you lose to them or you beat them to say, hey, that isn't the Vanderbilt of old. That's why in this conference, and I know we judge conferences by the top dogs.
Sure.
Like Nebraska, we're not sucking off the teats of Michigan and Ohio State. Okay,
No.
They're standalone. They're different. We're not like the SEC where they open up the jaws and they just slurp like it is. You are at 7-Eleven on Free Slurpee Day. Okay, but we judge the power of the conferences at the top. Nobody goes, well, the depth is really good. That middle, I love that middle. No,
Maryland is having a great year.
I don't know what kind of a man you are, but you're usually looking at the top, all right? Maybe you look at the middle. Hardly ever you look at the bottom. Okay, but everybody says, well, you know what? If you can get the bottom to come to the top. But in this case, for the SEC, if you're going to use your strength of schedule, Vanderbilt improving kind of helps your argument, doesn't it? Like if Rutgers and Maryland started to be like viable candidates where they were 7-5, but a legit 7-5, not a Rutgers build up your schedule against bad teams, but maybe a knock off a good team along the way.
As long as they don't beat the top teams in the conference.
Yeah, now that's what you don't want.
Exactly.
But maybe if you beat them 23-20, you can go, hey, Vanderbilt is better than we think. That's not you just escaped. Now, football people that are smart will look at that. Other people will go,
you suck.
You didn't cover the spread.
You are right. You didn't get the over. How didn't you get the over? Well,
which I actually think should be part of the criteria is if you cover the spread.
No.
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
It says it right there.
Vanderbilt can't beat LSU one day, but then lose to Kentucky the next day.
No, that's very important.
So that's where I think the SEC and the Big Ten both agree that, hey, there's a certain line where it's like, we don't want to be the NFC West or we don't want to be the AFC West, where it's like, oh, look, we're all like beating up on each other, but we're all actually good teams, because the committee is going to do what they always do or what they did last year and go, yeah, 9-3 doesn't cut it. Like you got to you got to be better than that. So I think if the SEC, like, they would prefer not to have their bottom teams be a joke, but they definitely want to stiff arm like Vanderbilt and Kentucky and be like, nah, we're okay. We need wins. We need wins. We need to get to 10. You don't need to be that good.
You don't think they would be like, God, could you please be good enough to be our fifth?
No, but they already have that. They already have Auburn and LSU and South Carolina and Georgia and Alabama. And like, there's your five right there. I just named you your five.
You throw South Carolina in there?
Ole Miss is in there too. South Carolina was a good team last year. South Carolina went 9-3.
I got to see it again to be consistent with Beamer Ball.
South Carolina, that's a good point, because what were they, 4-8 the year before? Like, at the same time though, they're returning a lot of guys, and that's and they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They're going to be pretty damn good this year.
They do have the potential, and I like what he's doing, but I got to see it one more time. But shout out to Vanderbilt. By the way, because Vanderbilt is
they get crapped on a lot.
They were better in football. They were better in basketball, and they're the number one seed in baseball in an NIL world where you would think those three sports would take a hit. They've had a really, really good year. Now back to including Feinbaum on something. So the viral video of him and Kiffin and the long story about how Feinbaum got Kiffin fired at USC, and they've had a rivalry, and it's kind of entertaining. And Lane Kiffin is entertaining, period. We don't have him in the Big Ten. Yeah, which is unfortunate. We don't have Feinbaum in the Big Ten, which was fortunate.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin is the only coach in America in terms of the Q rating that can get away without winning anything. Most coaches that are like Lane Kiffin, and he's come on the cusp of being in the playoff, and he's been ranked, but he's also had WTF losses, and then he's had wins for a guy that has not been in the playoff or has scratched the national championship. Anybody else would be crushed. They would call them a clown. Lane Kiffin's the only guy that can pull that off.
Isn't that the power of charisma?
I think it's the power of being different and quirky, and people need that because there are so many robots and so many cliche monsters in the sport where you can look at Kiffin and go, man, he makes the sport fun. And you talk about a whole bunch of other things before you actually get to his record in games that matter and getting over the hump. Now, they're a good football program, and I'd sign up today to take the success that he has had at Ole Miss, but he's built up like he should be in the championship and in the playoff, and he hasn't.
His ability to grab a beer with has allowed him to do that, has just elevated him to that. Because how many college coaches could you actually grab a beer with and have a good time? And how many of those coaches that you could name are actually very successful? And I'm not talking I'm sure if there are people who know a lot of college football coaches that maybe could answer those more of those questions, but surface level. If we're just judging how we see these guys on TV or in press conferences or how they present themselves to the media, how many of those guys could you actually think, oh, I want to go out with that guy? I don't think there would be too many of them. I don't want to grab a beer with Curt Cignetti. It would just turn into a lecture. So I just think that, like you said, Lane being different, but Lane just being, but also he's won just enough.
Yeah. Oh, he's in no danger of getting fired in Oxford. They
just enough to be on.
Great to have him.
Well, no, I'm not talking about being dangerous in Oxford. I'm just talking about being vocal. He's won just enough where it's he's not going anywhere, and he's good, and this is solid, and you can see why he recruits so well.
I think also another part of his personality, and you don't even look at the wins-loss record, is he failed. He failed miserably, and it was public failures, whether the departure at Tennessee, what happened at USC, getting fired on a tarmac, going through things he went through, going to Alabama, being Saban's whipping boy, and then coming out the back end. And going through a public divorce, and he's been pretty public about all of that. He hasn't run and hid. And also, social media has helped Lane Kiffin. Social media has made Lane Kiffin maybe the most likable college football coach that there is going.
But I think
his daughter. His daughter, his daughter was the one that opened up the world to this different Lane Kiffin that we see in Oxford.
I think that Lane Kiffin being Lane Kiffin is makes him likable, and then it's interesting though. I wonder how that. I can't wait for a Brandon Vogel article in about 5 years when we find out, or if there's a way to find out if social media influences recruiting or how it's influenced recruiting. And if from coaches having, how big of a footprint does a coach have on social media, and maybe how does that correlate to increases in recruiting? I'd be very curious to see if that is just if that is a public image thing, or is there an actual advantage to being active on Twitter, being active on TikTok, being active on Instagram, and if it does bring a competitive advantage.
All right. A little bit later, Evan Bland will join us. Nebraska will face the other Witherspoon tomorrow at 4:00 in Chapel Hill. Plus, for people that are going to Chapel Hill, we have a good listener of 1620 The Zone, Dave, who has knowledge of what to do in Chapel Hill to watch a ball game at that beautiful facility. We'll share that with you. Also, after 8, I got some softball news for y'all. It'll make some people happy. We've got Steve Sipple. Maybe by then we'll have a kick time or two. And then we got Brian Edwards, who maybe he'll have a line or two on a kick time that'll be announced by then.
Hey, Brian, Iowa, Nebraska, over under 130.
Speaking of kick, there was a great video that went viral yesterday of Auburn, Alabama police station. There was someone being booked, and in a TV in the corner was the pick six game. And they have the video of when it happened, and the arresting officer and the perp were there watching it, and they both were celebrating. I'll find it for you.
That's so
it was
funny.
Pretty cool. That's our Saturdays in college football. Don't mess with those moments, please. And also don't get arrested in Auburn, Alabama.
That's kind of hard.
It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, your most valuable asset is your home, and you want to protect your home. And if your roof is good, your siding, your gutters need to be restored, there's only one place to turn to. It is the MVPs of roofing in Omaha, Moose Roofing. Pat Moose and his company, they are an Omaha roofing company. They are focused on so many different elements of protecting your roof from the elements. Residential roof repair, commercial roofing, they do it all. They've been in business for nearly 30 years right here in Omaha. That gives you a peace of mind when a storm rolls through because you're like, do I trust this person? You know who you can trust? Moose Roofing. Set up an inspection today. It's pretty easy to do. Go to their website, mooseroofing.com, and you'll get the full experience from the first consultation, then on the roof, looking at the siding, the gutters, going through everything that you need. And then before the work starts, you got to deal with your insurance company. Moose Roofing has an entire department. I mean, an entire department that's all they do. And they do it well because it's gotten more difficult as the process has gone along. That's why they're different from any other roofing company. Moose Roofing is for you. Find out why over 15,000 roofs from Western Iowa all the way to Lincoln have the seal of approval from Moose Roofing on them. Contact them today. Go online to mooseroofing.com. Chicago Wolves hat today.
Yes.
Are they in the Calder Cup semis or finals?
I do not know.
Because they have been really, really good in suburban Chicago.
Yes.
You know who else is really, really good?
Who's really good?
Do you know something here? Do you know
Probably not.
that if the season ended today,
Nebraska would be 0-0 in the top of the Big Ten?
That's very optimistic. That is true, and that is a factual.
They would be undefeated.
They would. Our Chicago Cubs would not only win the NL Central, they would have one of the top records in the league, and they would get a bye to the divisional round of the playoffs. It is May 29th. You cannot tamper our enthusiasm, but I'm telling you.
I can.
No.
I can remind you of 2018 and how that crapped out when we lost to the Rockies.
No.
I can tell you about 2019.
I am so sorry I did this to him.
Multiple games in September, and we ended up losing. We went like 2-9 against the Cardinals to not even make the wild card.
Nope.
I can remind you of 2020 when we kind of limped into the 60 game playoffs and lost to Miami in the first round.
I am in the moment. I'm in 2025.
I'm not in the moment.
Here I'm excited for Cubs playoffs and you guys.
It is almost June 1. I don't care if it's the Colorado Rockies who are now 9-47.
That's a them problem.
They're on a pace, by the way, they're on a pace where they're not going to lose 140 games. They may only lose 136. And so they showed up on the Cubs schedule, but you got to beat the teams like that, right? Yeah. That's the story
of to score more runs.
Teams that you're supposed to beat, you should beat, and you should win a series. And the Cubs swept them last night.
By scoring 9 runs in 3 games, by the way.
Hey, that's a Rocky problem.
That is a major Rocky problem.
But we have PCA and Suzuki who each have more than 50 RBIs. I don't know if people know this, but Seiya leads the majors in RBIs.
Seiya
I'm on the
Suzuki,
PCA bandwagon.
I used to call it a Seiya June because the last 2 years he's been awesome in the month of June. He was a little bit like a Ramos, where a Ramos would have a rough April and May, but then he would turn it on in the summer. Yeah. The weather warms up a little bit. Seiya's hitting in April and May. It's incredible.
Global warming.
Holy crap.
It's almost June 1. Good things happen when you're in first place in June 1. All right.
Do they? I don't know if that's statistically correct.
This is the teetering part. Okay. Ricketts. All right. Don't let us down. Okay. You have a clear lane to what you need to do. It's going to be June 1. The Cubs are having a good month of May. The 13 games above 500. Let the good times roll, please. Please. We've won 12 of 15. Do what you got to do. I don't know that they can win the World Series, but they can definitely win the National League. And I'm here to say that, and I'm not going back. I'm all aboard. It might be the vomit comet at the end of the day, or it might be the rocket that leads us to important baseball in the month of October. I'm committing to this. You might have commitment issues. I'm not sure.
I have major commitment issues.
Okay. I am committing that I am all in. I'm ready to get the groin kicked. Okay.
You're ready to be hurt again?
In this case, I don't believe so. I just want to make that declaration on this Thursday morning, and I'm very happy to do it.
I can't wait for October.
I will give you the benefit of the doubt here and say that this team definitely seems way more sustainable than maybe the good Cubs teams in the past. And we actually have a leadoff hitter. We actually have contact hitters. We actually have defense. Some of those teams in 2018, 2019, 2020 didn't have that at all. We just had a bunch of guys who could walk and hit home runs, and then they stopped hitting home runs. And so then they were just walking and not doing anything. Real quick, though, by the way, do you know that the Chicago Wolves have another affiliate that they're with?
Because I know 2 affiliates.
Well, no. When growing up, they were the Thrashers.
Yeah.
Then they turned to the Canucks.
Yep.
And then they went to the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last game I went to, they were the Vegas Golden Knights affiliate. And I was like, God, what are we doing here? Like keep a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Now they're affiliated with the Carolina Hurricanes. What are we doing? That's like a bad relationship.
Yeah,
that's
weren't
like
they
the
most successful when they were independent?
Yes, they were. Oh my God, that place was rocking. Like that, like you'd go to Allstate and you'd go there. I mean, if you're ever in Chicago and you want to go to a sporting event, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, I'm telling you right now, Chicago Wolves games are actually a blast. That arena is set up perfectly for them.
You've said that many times. Yeah.
They do it right over there. That just Allstate arena.
Do they play the Manitoba Moose? I just remember them.
No, I saw
they no longer exist. I don't think so.
I saw them play the Hershey.
I think when the Jets came to town, the Manitoba Moose went.
Rest in
but
peace.
little tidbit out there. If you ever go to a Wolves game, you're gonna have a good time. Make sure you get the lemonade. They got some of the best lemonade in the city.
Thank you to Bruin Steve with the matchups. They're reaching the Eastern and Western Conference Finals in the AHL. Charlotte Checkers, shout out, and then the Texas Stars, who are just outside of Austin.
How about the Hershey Bears? How are my Hershey Bears doing?
Hershey Bears, by the way, if you want to be a broadcaster in the NHL, get a gig with the Hershey Bears.
Oh, do they got a great pipeline?
That is a pipeline to the NHL.
Good to know.
Brett McMurphy is the first.
All righty, here we go.
You guys all remember your first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too long ago.
Our first of the 2025 TV kick times
Just slip that in
is
there.
from Brett McMurphy.
You didn't hear it, Gary. Jimmy did.
Oh, I'm sure he heard it.
Big 12 opening 3 weeks are on TNT and HBO Max. They also broadcast 2 first-round games. Those are not, I don't know the kick times and the opponents yet for those two, so I apologize. We get Hawaii, Arizona at 9:30 on August 30th.
Hell yes.
Okay.
Kent State at Texas Tech at 11.
Goes.
Kent State is the worst team in college football. That'll be a fun game.
11 in Lubbock in early
September. You might get to see Gary
Oh.
McGuire on the sidelines with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then Texas State at Arizona State. If that doesn't scream, boy, I would love to have more Big 12 football. I really don't know what.
But
That's
we'll
kind
watch.
You know what? That's kind of a letdown for the first release of a kick time this morning. That's okay.
Did you
That's
just
okay.
say?
You can't go in there and just bam. You got to go in there with a little twinkle toes, and you got to, it's a little bit of a lead in. It's not just a bam.
Did you just say maybe you'll see Garrett McGuire on the sideline for Texas?
Well, I don't know if
Tech?
he'll be
up in the
upstairs.
box.
I don't know if he'll be upstairs.
They're going to put a camera on him, and they're going to have a
He could
little
get
vignette
sunburned.
ready to go. Father and son coach.
Uh,
He spent his last year as the wide receivers coach at Nebraska. He was ranked in the under 25 or 25 under 25
Dad,
coaching list by
you wanna have a
Forbes, and now he
catch?
comes back to Lubbock to coach with his father.
Garrett McGuire will do big things in coaching.
Agree.
He will be so much better at Texas Tech than he was at Nebraska.
I think the comfortability will be really, really good for him.
Lower
Just
humidity,
not
too.
just
I think
being
he's-
with his dad,
I think
just being
he's-
in that state.
I think he's 2 years older, and he's involved in a position group which I think he is more comfortable with. So he will do big things in coaching, and it's beneficial for Nebraska, and it's beneficial for the McGuires. We
agree.
think this is a beneficial call on the Prairie
Oh, it
Flower
is.
Casino Hotline.
It is.
Man.
Good morning, Don.
Morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good.
We're
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Top notch.
Oh, I like
Hey,
that.
I got to start this call by eating crow.
Go ahead.
Like
Uh,
really? Are you do you have some
not
like right
literally.
next to you?
I'm not going to go. Yeah, I'm not stabbing one and eating it.
You're not like the Florida State fan that said he would eat poop, and eventually did.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Good for him.
Really?
12 weeks last
Florida,
season, every
Gary.
week they
That's
did.
all you need to know.
Yeah.
Florida. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I called in and I said Nebraska would be making its last trip to Omaha for that Creighton game. I could have been more wrong. So I got to own that, own my words, own my actions, own my mistakes.
Thank you.
I screwed that one up. Number 2, hats off to Brockett and Horn.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about 2 old school pitching performances? Just give me the ball and don't come to my hill until I tell you to. No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
That
you're
was
right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They made it through that whole tournament with 6 pitchers. So let's hope that attitude translates to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, and let's hope Luke Broderick is as good as he was in his 6 innings that he threw in Omaha.
Yeah, he's a reaver. He'll be fine.
Oh, there you go. Nice. That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Don,
And then finally, let's talk
go
about
ahead.
sitting aces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. You want to be 1-0 or 0-1?
See, I will say
I can't
this.
stand that philosophy.
Yeah, I agree. I know where you're coming from, but if you look at that Oklahoma roster, Don, they actually got a really great half of that bullpen that can come in and kind of clean up the 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th inning. In a way, they got one of the best closers in the SEC. So I from that perspective, I kind of understand that strategy for Oklahoma specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. You got a team that's rolling right now, and if I sit on my ace, and then the 4 seed loses to the 1 seed. Now I got an ace pitching against a 4 seed. Or do I sit him on again and never throw him to go 2 and Q?
No. So this is, I always think you got to win the first game before you can win the second game. And they're rolling the dice that they think they'll beat Nebraska, so they have their ace to go against North Carolina. But that day 2 guy now has become almost more important than your day 1 guy. I only think if you're a 4 seed, you feel slighted by somebody holding their ace. If you're Nebraska, this is about Nebraska. They got to score runs regardless who's pitching. Now, his brother Malachi doesn't have the gaudy ERA and doesn't have the, hey, I'm going to be the top 5 pick in the draft, but he still has struck out 80-plus and 68-plus innings. So he's got some stuff that Nebraska is going to have to deal with. I don't think Nebraska should feel slighted. They should look at it and go, you know what? They might feel slighted because we're not throwing Ty Horn.
Sure.
Let's get it on like Donkey Kong.
I hear you.
Let's go.
I'm not a big fan of holding aces back.
Yeah, this was a discussion. This was a discussion back in the day when Komine was an automatic dub on a Friday, and you'd play in a regional. And you're like, well, do you hold him till Saturday? Because man, if you're 2-0, and you'd like, you could talk yourself into it, but at the end of the day, you're like, nope, we got to be 1-0, and he gives us the best chance to be 1-0.
What if doesn't win you baseball games?
That is true. You know what? Was that a Yogi Berra or was that a Casey Stengel?
I think it was a Johnny Bench.
Nah, it was just 90% mental, and the other half was physical.
All right. Love you, Don. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. Have a great day.
So if people don't know, and Evan Bland will join us in less than an hour, and he will talk more about this. So Kyson Witherspoon, who could be a top 5 overall pick, is the flamethrower for Oklahoma. He is not pitching against Nebraska. It'll be Brockett against his brother Malachi, who is 3-8 with a 5.53 ERA. If you're Oklahoma, you are rolling the dice. You do think that you have enough to beat Nebraska, and you know that maybe you don't want, and you're looking at matchups. So you're always thinking that you're going to win.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, we could beat Nebraska with Malachi. We can't beat North Carolina with Malachi. So I think that's how they're looking at it. Unless they want to give Kyson Witherspoon an extra day. But if I'm Nebraska, I don't even worry about that. Okay, I got to score some runs. I got to score some runs throughout this entire tournament. And if we do get a Kyson Witherspoon matchup in day 2, does North Carolina hold their ace? Jake Knapp is one of the best pitchers in the ACC, and I don't know if they want him pitching against Holy Cross. But you can't get to day 2 1-0 without winning on day 1.
Oklahoma only had one all-first-team SEC player, and that was Kyson Witherspoon, who, by the way, yesterday in the ESPN, their first-ever mock draft of the 2025 MLB draft, had him going 8th overall to Toronto. So I think this is clearly them thinking the way that we are going to get out of this regional is Kyson has to play against North Carolina. And so they're an imperfect team, and when you're in an imperfect team, you have to take risks. And I think this is one of the risks that they take, where it's like, we would love to be able to have 2 really good pitchers who we can trust on both days with a solid back half bullpen. They don't have that. They have a very, I think their ERA in the SEC was like 12th or 13th out of 15 teams. So they have to take these risks and do a little patchwork. And hopefully Nebraska can take advantage of that going against a, not a bad pitcher, but not at the same level of the guy that you might have been facing.
No, and not at the same level you've seen the last couple of times out in the Big Ten tournament. But a 4 seed gets upset and puts it on the bulletin board. If you're a 3 seed, you got to take care of yourself, because you might do the same thing as a 2 seed and go, okay, our best chance is blank against North Carolina because we're pretty sure they're going to beat Holy Cross. At the end of the day, Nebraska's got to put up some crooked numbers in North Carolina to beat Oklahoma or to beat North Carolina. If you get to that point, or heck, even if by chance you lose on Friday and you play Holy Cross, you're going to have to score some runs. But there is a thing, though, about who might be throwing for Nebraska that we'll touch on. Evan will join us coming up at 8:30. Take a quick break, come back. Steve Sipple will stop by as well. Oh, now we have TV people on TV people fighting.
Gotta love Matt.
Matt Sarsniak, who does a great website. He is upset at McMurphy spoiling things. He says, I know it's all fair game and there's no harm, really.
Is this like when the assistant commissioner to Adam Silver got really mad about Woj spoiling his second-round draft picks?
But now he says, I'd be real surprised if there was a 1 o'clock game. Wow. All right, I like that. TV on TV crime with college football.
I like
kicks.
it when things get feisty.
Must be the offseason.
Love this sport. Love this sport. We're back with more Gary and Matt after this.
Oh, this could be a sad night in basketball. And Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during the playoffs, which, again, could be a sad night tonight. It's one of the leading places to make all your sports picks, and you can play now here in our beloved state of Nebraska. And their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. That's a lot of everything. All right. To play, all you have to do is download the app. Choose whether a player go higher or lower, what other stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, so much more. Once your picks feel good or you stop second-guessing yourself, you can play with as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money tonight on Underdog. This could be TNT's last hurrah. Oh, gonna cry. Pacers, Knicks. Look at Tyrese Halliburton. He'll do things. Can the Knicks survive? Oh, for the love of everything that's good about sports, just at least give us one more game on TNT on Saturday. Just one more. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, last night with Florida rallying, thank you to a bad NBA game. I think some people tuned in to watch the excitement of the Panthers and the Hurricanes.
How do you miss that shot at the end of the game?
How does
6 on 4.
You have a 2-goal lead, toughest lead to protect in all of sports. The Panthers scored 3 goals in about 3 minutes. It was an exciting game, with nonstop action, bad NBA game. I hope people tuned in to watch the end of the Florida-Carolina game, which Florida won. So, 6 straight years, there will be a team from Florida playing for the Cup. And I laugh when people say that. Because
I don't know how I feel about it.
The kids on the Lightning and the Panthers are not from Florida. Okay?
Yes.
They don't live there. They don't grow up there. They're not playing for their local hockey team.
They're all from Quebec.
It just is, it should piss you off as a Maple Leaf fan that the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers have combined for 6 straight appearances in the Stanley Cup Finals. But that is funny. And yes, there is no state income tax in Florida. But there was something else that happened last night that I'm curious on your opinion. Okay. So after the game, Paul Maurice, the head coach of the Florida Panthers, Rod Brind'Amour, head coach of Carolina, Paul Maurice asked Rod Brind'Amour, because remember, this is the end of the series, so now you have the famous handshake line.
Yeah.
Paul Maurice asked Rod Brind'Amour and his coaches to skip the handshake line and leave it to the players.
I like it. I'll tell you why I like it, because that series, if you were watching that series in many ways, was a war. It was a war between the players. And I think that there are times in hockey where you kind of stop listening to the coach and you kind of just start fighting each other and you just start playing each other, and it becomes about you. And so, I mean, I think it's okay. Like, I'm not like I'm not like, oh my God, we should never have coaches in the line, but I'm also not a purist where it's like, hey, that's bad for the game. The fact is that Paul Maurice and Brind'Amour are on the bench. They know what's going on the ice better than anybody. They hear the chirping, they hear the yelling, they hear the physicality. I think if you take it from their perspective, they understand the series better than anyone. And so if they think that's the appropriate thing to do, then hey, who am I to say, you know?
So you think the players would have gone after the coaches if they were in the line? It was an interesting request.
I see. I don't know what the motive. My assumption is that it was an emotional series, and that it's just good for them to have this moment, and maybe having non-players in that line may like stain the moment or take away from that moment. I wouldn't be. I didn't watch Paul Maurice's presser, but I would be interested to see if anyone asks him if he's done that before. Hey, have you ever asked another team's coaching staff in your career to not shake your players' hands? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, the meaning behind that is interesting. I've never heard of that before, but I could see why that is something he would want to do.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little baseball because something happened locally last night with baseball. Good. Something else with the softball world is really, really good that I'm going to tell you about when we come back. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Ooh, the live version.
Is Zobrist coming up to bat?
It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone, on the apps, on the stream, wherever you can find us. Thank you very much for joining us on this next to last show of May. It'll be June before you know it.
Time has flown. Time has flown.
It has. This year is flying.
It is. Like, people are like, man, the days go slow, the years go fast.
Oh, no, they just start speeding.
No. The days are fast. The days are fast.
When I was at the urology place the other day, trust me, I was reminded of how fast time goes. We all have a future. Velcro black shoes and a bag of urine.
Put it on a T-shirt.
Mm-hmm. So enjoy it.
That's kind of tamper down my T-shirt idea that I'm going to share here in just a moment.
I'm gonna enjoy.
This is why I enjoy today.
B-list comedian tomorrow. Can't wait.
So it's going to be a good morning for Mike Hurd, the softball coach at Omaha, who has led Omaha softball to 3 straight regional appearances. They have become the big dog in the Summit League.
3 straight wins too, right?
Yeah, 3 straight years they've at least won a game. Now, and they're doing work in the portal. Taylor Sedlacek, who is from Bennington, who went to Wichita State and hit 15 home runs last year, is coming back to Omaha. She has announced her commitment to Omaha out of the portal. And today, Omaha will make a commitment to softball. And the guy that runs the softball program, that I hope they can keep him as long as possible. And if they can't keep him, I hope he doesn't go very far away. Mike Hurd will sign a contract extension today. So congratulations to Coach Hurd. It is well-deserved. Softball program is in a great, great spot. They have a lot of momentum going after another Summit League championship. And it looks like that they will host the Summit League softball championships. Won't know until the fall because it's either them or St. Thomas, but St. Thomas needs to invest in their facility. Mm-hmm. But Omaha is investing in softball this morning with Mike Hurd in a contract extension.
Well-deserved.
He has had
indeed.
Numerous suitors that have jobs above Omaha that he has elected to stay here where he, of course, is from. So that's great news and a great person, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his program, and I can't wait to see what else they're going to do in the portal because I imagine that Taylor Sedlacek, there were a lot of Power 4 teams that had some interest in her, but she ends up at Omaha, so congratulations to Coach Hurd.
Well deserved indeed. When you win like that and you consistent, like, it's not, I know we do the whole like mid-major thing and maybe people think it's like, well, the competition isn't as high, but the pressure is so much higher when you have to win the Summit League tournament in order to make the NCAA tournament. To do it back-to-back years is, I mean, well more than just deserved to get that contract extension.
Here's my T-shirt idea, not yours, Jimmy. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go to Triple B with that, but I'm gonna go to Triple B with this. So
I'll tell you which shirt I'll buy, by the way.
So last night, you'll buy this one. Okay. Oh, I know you'll buy this one.
Okay.
This one is right in your wheelhouse. So last night, Warner Park hosted the second game of the Jack Caglione Omaha experience. He went 3 for 4.
Oh,
he did not hit a home run.
He hit a ball 109 miles an hour though.
Foul.
Oh, I thought that was a double.
No, that was a 101.9.
Oh, okay.
Which is a great radio station where you can hear the Creighton home games, 101.9 The Keg. He hit a ball out of the ballpark, but it was a foul ball.
Oh.
So he went 3 for 4 last night. He had a double. All of his hits, or everything off of his bat, was at least 99 miles an hour.
Jeez.
So he looked a lot more comfortable last night. But his 2 of his 3 hits were opposite field. And that's exactly, well, that's what the Royals want to see. So he's now down to 10 games left before he goes to Kansas City. Rusty Kuntz last night.
Really?
Rusty and I, now Rusty didn't say this, but he's here for...
Take it in now.
He's here for 10 more days.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 10 more games. They finished this homestand with St. Paul, then they have the Iowa Cubs, and then Caglione is gone. And then that slightly opens up the Bobby Witt Jr. World Series championship window, which has not opened up yet because they don't have the makings. They're still and so Caglione joining starts to open that a little bit, and then they have to work on the pitching staff with a frontline guy, and then they have to add some offense. But Caglione moving up, and trust me, everybody in Kansas City wants to talk about it. I mean, Tom, Dick, and Harry have a chance from Omaha to be on a Kansas City radio station,
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough, because Kansas City media radio guys that I know are actually coming here for the weekend to watch him play in Omaha Friday and Saturday.
They got places for them to go.
Well, they can also watch Rich Hill. So 45-year-old Rich Hill, who signed with the Royals a couple weeks ago,
the Rich Hill.
Dick Mountain, is now in Omaha, and he's pitching on Sunday. So you have some reasons to go to Warner Park, but you only have 10 more games. But here's the T-shirt idea.
Give it to me.
So I would like to do this, and I hope our marketing people in this building are listening.
Ooh.
I would like us to buy out the right field berm.
It's GA.
We would buy it out, and we would give out tickets, and you have to sit with us on the berm, all of 1620 the zone. We would be out on the berm to try and get a Cags home run. Then we would make T-shirts.
Pictures with Matt.
Exactly.
No, wait.
Oh,
Wait.
Hey,
We
you want to
turn
meet
this into
another
a competition.
How do we turn it into a competition?
Okay, so we
We're
print out.
all there for Caglione.
We print out T-shirts with your face on it, with my face on it, with Connor's face on it, with John's face on it, with Josh's face on it. You come to the ballpark, and everybody gets to pick out what team they want to represent, what shirt they want to wear, and then if you catch the Cags home run and you're wearing the Matt McMaster shirt,
you take him home.
You just win you have a competition. Everybody's got like a team of people that can try and catch the ball.
It's like Legends of the Hidden Temple. Everyone's got a team.
You don't like that? Legends of the Hidden Temple was a banger.
I know.
This is about Kegs. This isn't about us.
Yeah.
But then why are we buying out the right field berm then?
Because we want our listeners to have an opportunity to catch a home run ball from Kegs. And the T-shirt we're going to give them, because our friends down in Kansas City have T-shirts that just have Kegs on them.
In the Royals writing?
Kind of.
Yeah. I saw
ours are going to be different.
Okay.
And this goes back to something you said after observing him for the first time the other night. Kegs quads. If you've not seen a picture of Jack Caglione in shorts, look at them quads.
I thought
them quads.
Shorts.
Them quads are bigger than the building at 50th and Capitol.
I thought you were going to say
Kegs quads.
I thought you were going to say you wanted to print a "He looks the part" T-shirt.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same.
So, because the Kegs has already been done, we want to do the Kegs quads, and we'll have a caricature of his quads. But we would buy out the right field berm. We'd buy enough tickets for our listeners, and even if you weren't one of our listeners, you could sit on the berm. But we'd be an army of 1620, and we would be out there, and that would be our night. And we give away the T-shirts to everybody that's in the berm. Who says no to this idea?
Probably multiple people, but
that's usually how it works.
I was going to say, I wasn't taken aback by his quads. His forearms are like intimidating. Like I couldn't imagine like shaking his hand and having him like squeeze down and seeing them like pop up like a peacock, like it is everything about that man is just bigger.
Poor Cags. It's like a piece of meat to you guys.
Dude, when he comes to the place again last night,
he was warming up right in front of me. I was 15 feet away from him, and I was like, "That dude he's a big man. He's a big proportion."
Like, every time he came to the plate last night. Now, last night he played on right field and looked comfortable, and that's where they want him to get comfortable. Is every time he came to the plate, like people got their phones out. Now it wasn't. They had a little bit bigger crowd last night, but there wasn't as much. Tonight. There wasn't as much like fanfare. The people in right field weren't getting up when he came to the plate.
They weren't in ready stance.
No, like they were the night before.
Thing ever.
But people still like got out their phones. Like I know people that drove up from Lincoln at the last minute last night to come to the game. So you got 10 more games to watch him play. That's kind of my feeling. But we need to have next week when the Iowa Cubs are here without Matt Shaw.
That's just
you do some scouting though.
We can have 1620 the berm.
Do you think
on a Thursday next Thursday?
I like my idea better, but your idea is good. I don't know.
What was your idea?
I want to put faces on T-shirts.
Oh no, I like his idea. That's more inclusive.
Yeah, but
I don't need a bunch of T-shirts with a bunch of faces.
It's always about me, and I would like people to have their T-shirts with my face on it.
If it's just your face,
you say it's all about me.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it's a little secret. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah,
I'm in radio for a reason.
Mixed shirt.
Mixed shirt.
Ooh.
Get your mixed shirt. Maybe we do 1620 the berm, and I just print out my own shirts with my own.
You know
face
what?
on
I
it.
will support.
You
I
got-
will support
you got
this
money.
narcissism.
I don't know. I don't know, man. We got all these summer trips coming up. It's going by the wayside. Going by the wayside real quickly.
So tonight they play 6:35.
Beautiful.
So
night.
get out there for day 3 of Kegs in Omaha.
Can we just call people in the Cubs organization? I know people in the Cubs organization. Can we just call
Andre Dawson.
have a favor and be like, hey, can you send Cade down for a day? Can I just get that at bat now as opposed to 3 years when we do an intra-league series?
I'm more concerned about my big club, so let's keep him up there where he can start to throw 6 innings and give up 1 run and strike out 4.
And fill in the hole that has desperately been created by Justin Steele's injury. God, I love Justin Steele. Did you see he was opening up cards with his sling and he pulled a Jaden Daniels rookie card?
He's back at Wrigley Field this week, so he's been in the booth.
Oh,
so
has he been in the booth?
He's fantastic.
Is he good in the booth?
He is. He's got a great personality.
He's done the in the off season they bring him on. They bring players onto the panel at the Marquee Sports Network. I've heard him talk on the panel and whatnot, and he's got that little twang, but he's really, really funny. He would be good.
The captain says, "I have a 1620 after the hour shirt." Jimmy Allen's got his own clothing line.
He was.
We don't have
Jimmy Allen.
We don't have much swag. We went through when we celebrated an anniversary. We went through some swag.
We haven't really had any since I've been here.
And we got the College World Series coming up where we have giveaways.
We did have stress balls. We have
stress balls. We haven't had
use that stress ball.
We haven't had hats or T-shirts in a while.
No, not
but I think we need a Kegs quads for next Thursday night when 1620 The Zone buys out the berm for Kegs night.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know if it's going to get done, but I think it's a phenomenal idea. The only shirt that I've gotten is when I rummaged through that cabinet over there and found a 1620 The Zone, the home of ESPN T-shirt.
There are still circulating around here. So the famous with the original USC with Kevin and Bob, the scheduled T-shirts, which were extremely popular. We haven't done one for a couple of years, but USC would have a scheduled T-shirt, and people would come out of the woodwork at remotes to get the 1620 The Zone USC scheduled T-shirt,
football schedule.
Yes.
Okay, that'd be dope. We put my face on it. That'd be cool.
I don't know if USC would approve of that, but we could ask.
We just make it Gary and Matt. Your face doesn't have to be on it, but we can
I
put
don't
my
want
face
my
on
face on it. That's all you.
DC on the stream says, "Morning, gents. Morning, DC. A little late today. I wonder what he was doing." Have we talked about the 17, 18-year-old kid that convinced a head football coach to take his shirt off on camera only to decommit a couple of weeks later? Yes, that did happen to Dan Lanning.
The memes.
So Lanning got a 5-star defensive lineman, and they jumped into the pool together. Well, the kid jumped into the pool, and then Lanning jumped into the pool.
And everybody had to find out that Dan Lanning was skinny fat. It was a bad look for him.
And it was all for naught?
Well, people were thought Dan Lanning was in shape, and then he took off his shirt, and he's like, ooh, okay. I guess that salmon is a little too fatty over in the Northwest Pacific.
Southwest, you got to stay indoors during the winter, get a little cabin fever. You put on a little 15. But yes,
talk about 45.
Yes, the kid decommitted from Oregon, and he's taking visits elsewhere.
Dan Lanning, with the famous, they play for clicks, we play for wins. It's the one time he played for clicks, it backfired. A little karma. Might be a little karma there. Where he became the thing he swore to destroy, and then it ended up memeing him. There were some really good memes. They're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to get another 5-star.
I think there are multiple D linemen who are like, oh, I guess I can go to Oregon now.
What will be if he doesn't? And I guess he could still go to Oregon. But when he picks his school, what is the troll job of that coach? Because that they will have to do something in the war against Oregon.
What if the kid came up to that coach and goes, I mean, you committed to BYU, right? Didn't he already commit to BYU?
I thought he was taking some visits.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe another kid. I don't know. I saw something about BYU. Regardless. Can you imagine if the kid goes, hey, to his new head coach, you have to jump in the pool with me or I'm not coming. I will not come to this school unless you jump in this pool with me. Would you do it? Knowing that you can become victim number 2?
I don't know. I think I would encourage a Stephon Diggs video if I was the new head coach that he had committed to.
What's my name?
No problem with.
What's my name?
Cardi B. Hello.
He's just having fun.
Yeah. We'll see if Stephon Diggs shows up at day 2 of OTAs in New England.
They love Pop Rocks, just what it was.
What a weird career arc for Stephon Diggs.
He's just a weird human. And
that's why Aaron Rodgers should be his quarterback.
They would be best friends, wouldn't they?
Aaron Rodgers, by the way, has turned people's brain on Yelling Head Talk TV into mush.
Yeah, Terry Bradshaw's going through it right now.
Well, he had a couple of funny lines, and I don't think he's liked Aaron Rodgers for a while. And I think a lot of Steeler fans have been like off on Terry Bradshaw, so he may have come back into the fold. And then when Rodgers signs, they'll be like, "Old man Terry, you're out. We're into Aaron." There was an argument 2 days ago on national TV. Joy Taylor. She was very, very upset that Aaron Rodgers was skipping OTAs. This is why I say Aaron Rodgers is very difficult for media to cover because he's quirky and he's unpredictable. It's kind of like covering the White House. You don't know how to cover the White House because President Trump is very unpredictable, and we want to cover stuff that is predictable and you can kind of see it coming before it does. So people that are unpredictable make us uncomfortable, and I think then when we have hot takes, they make our brain go to mush. She was going on this rant, and I stopped and I said,
what are we doing?
He hasn't signed with anybody. How can he go to OTAs? He doesn't. He is not under contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So what is he just going to show up? He doesn't have a contract. He's going to show up and start balling out with the fellas and seeing, hey, if I like it or not.
Can you imagine he's in boots and jeans and he's just throwing the guys on the field?
This is clear as day. He's pulling a Favre. He'll be there at camp. I might even think that Mason Rudolph will start game 1 while Aaron Rodgers gets up to speed. He's pulling a Favre. He doesn't want to go to camp.
Do you know that I would say the hardest people to cover are the ones that claim that they don't care, but they really do care? Because all Aaron Rodgers does is claim that he does not care what people think, but then he continues to go on these talk shows and express his opinions and then reacts to people's opinions about his opinions, which you clearly care about what people think, but then he keeps telling us that we're idiots for thinking that he cares, which just makes him even more insufferable. But then you can't stop covering him, which then now aren't you feeding into what he wants? This is the dynamic of a sociopath. All
right. Evan Bland going to join us here in a little bit. We'll talk some baseball. Nebraska and Creighton. Outside of winning the regional, not going 2-Q success? Yay? Nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
No.
Outside of winning the regional, not going 2-Q will be considered a success?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think whenever you win a regional game, that's a success. A game in your region.
Okay. We'll discuss when Mr. Bland joins us here shortly on the road to Chapel Hill. And if you're going to Chapel Hill, I got a nugget for you. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, Evan Bland's going to join us here in a little bit. Quick update. The TV times will be announced at noon. So big noon TV time announcement. The Big Ten will release at noon, and it will be weeks 0 through 3. The rest of college football TV will go weeks 0 through 3, and maybe not Black Friday, but all of the weeknight Friday games will be announced for the Big Ten at noon.
Why can't they do it at 10? I wish they were doing it.
They do it at 9.
Why can't they do it at 9?
Why can't they do it we want to react to this? We need segments.
12 o'clock, I'll be in a coma by then.
Whoa.
Well, nap.
Oh.
Okay. That's true, I guess, after the past couple of weeks.
I wish we had like games early on that like really, really mattered. So today can be like a very exciting day. So we could like figure out like, oh my God, when is Tennessee going to kick off? Or like, when is Michigan? Like, we should play Michigan week 2. When's Michigan going to kick off? Like,
imagine playing Michigan week 2 of a conference game week 2.
That would be tough. That'd be rough. But we play conference games in week 1.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my most ideal pick to play in week number 2. But the conference, I will, the Big Ten. This kind of started with Delaney and to Kevin Warren and Tony Petitti, is they got out of their usual, hey, we only have conference games this time of the year, this time of the day. And then we started to see week 0, week 1 conference games. So I appreciate that. I think one of the things the Big Ten has to be very cognizant of is to have enough good games every weekend to go around for the TV partners. Those 3 windows that they command to make sure that it's not one of them is like a throwaway game, like Northwestern Rutgers or something like that is in the middle of the day, that they start big. And then they just kind of either they build up or they just keep kind of matching big matchups through the 3 windows.
I think that would have been too much to ask before last season. Like before that Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington joined the conference, I think that you couldn't. I don't know if you could have really done that because you had 4 to 5 really competitive, upper echelon elite teams. Now that you have Oregon and you're hoping that USC comes along, I don't think there's really an excuse, and especially with Indiana, Illinois, I don't think you have an excuse to not have at least a watchable.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to Purdue. Like, this is where we are now.
Oh, go ahead. Don't say no offense. Just say you are Purdue.
They shouldn't be in any of those big windows. Like, they shouldn't be in any of them because those are meant, if you want to be in those big windows, be a better team, be an entertaining team, be competitive, right? Like those windows should be reserved for teams that are good because I know that we're trending toward like being arm in arm and simpatico with the SEC. Mm-hmm. You're still competing against the SEC though. Even though we're clearly heading toward having that relationship, you still got to put quality content on week in and week out. And so in this day and age, where you're competing, like I don't want to see Purdue in a big window. I don't. No,
you don't need to apologize. I don't think there's anybody else. Heck, Purdue fans might not want to see Purdue in a big window.
And the attendance.
Purdue might like, man, we love the BTN. We love the Peacock.
I was about to say, get ready to learn Peacock. I mean, it's one of those things where the Big Ten just has to start putting hammer downs and just being like, look, I understand you're a part of this conference, but there's a certain standard that we have to live up to.
Now, there is one kick time that will be announced today. We know the network for the Texas-Ohio State game. And yesterday, because everybody in the SEC gets an opportunity to talk to the media.
Chris Del Conte has to go to church.
Boy, great athletic director. Great. That was such a great steal by Texas to get him out of TCU. So they were approached by Ohio State to move the game to Sunday and play it at night from that Saturday.
Yes.
And they elected not to. Now, the college football fan goes, oh, because, that Sunday night of that holiday weekend is a great slot. Great slot because everybody's home.
Sure.
That's a big night of television watching. Mm-hmm. And it's usually a game that, gets you going a little bit. So that, as a college football fan, that would have been great. Texas, Ohio State on a Sunday night. There's no NFL. That's the opening weekend of college football. You got a night game on a Sunday. You've already had your full dose of Saturday. So now you got like a standalone game and you're really excited. College football fan going, yes. and then you find out that Texas said no, you go, ugh. But if I'm a Texas fan, aren't you like, hey,
Way to stand up for yourself?
Hey,
Hell
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Hell yeah.
Why give Ohio State an
What they
advantage?
want.
Ohio
No.
State's already bitching and moaning about playing noon games in their time zone. Yeah, we're not going to give them advantage of
they're not the
possibly
bad
moving to a
guys.
night game or a different day.
Pretty late notice too, because that kind of changes the outlook in a league from a like a logistics standpoint too. Because like Del Conte said, we're going to voluntarily now take a short week, like for week 2. We're going to voluntarily head into it.
I think that's what you say publicly, but I mean, come on,
it's gamesmanship.
Yeah, who do they play? Who's Texas play week 2?
That's a good point.
They played.
Could be rice. Rice is a food.
I mean, everybody's playing Kent State.
Yeah.
But it's just I
wouldn't play. Hey, I don't
I
blame
play,
him for
but
not playing.
and you know
in
what'll
those games.
happen next year when that game's played in Austin?
Yeah,
because it'll be ESPN. You know where that game's going?
The night slot.
That's going on the night slot.
Yeah, because ESPN knows how to do it right. I mean, they take their
or they say, "Hey, Ohio State, how about 2:30 in Austin the last week of
well,
August?"
Okay, so I don't. I will be.
Get ready to speak 95-degree weather, buddy.
I will be curious when this comes out. It may not be an automatic noon kickoff. What if it is? What if it is 2:30? Now they can't. So the reason they can't play on the Saturday night game is because Fox has MLB, but they could. If I'm Major League Baseball, I'd love this. Hey, move it to, I guess, 3:30 Columbus time. So they haven't. It's either one of those times. There's no guarantee. It's not like etched in stone that it's the noon kickoff. They can play at 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
Lead into
matter,
MLB
though?
on Fox.
Does that matter though?
To the Columbus people, yes.
I don't know
noon
if it
games.
does because I think their gripe,
shout out Ohio Health Urgent Care.
Their gripe, I feel like more has to do with the fact that they don't have the night game, and less to do with the fact that they're kicking off at like when the sun is up or when it's like 11 o'clock. Like I think to them, it's like we want to be at night. We don't necessarily like if you move it back a couple of hours. I don't know if it obviously it opens up more tailgating and you can have a little bit more fun beforehand. And
but it's good,
So that's
their whole big thing is. I know the night thing, but their whole thing is why are we always playing at a noon local time?
I think that they would take that and they would take 2:30 to be like, okay, cool. I don't think
that. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think that would be an ideal if I was Ohio State. If you're Fox, man, wouldn't you love that as your lead-in to Major League Baseball? I don't know. They have their schedule set for that night, but they do have a game. That's why they can't move it tonight.
It's probably Baltimore versus like Minnesota.
Hey, the Twins be
crappy ass game.
Knee deep in a division race.
Back in February, when we put that schedule together, that looked like a great game.
Like a really good matchup. Hey, these are two teams that are probably in third place in their division, battling for a wild card spot.
All right, coming up at noon, you will see kick time. So we'll know Akron, Houston Christian. Give me a night game for Akron. Give me 11 a.m. for Houston Christian. And then probably 11 a.m. Black Friday. But this also we'll find out if Nebraska plays a road game on a Friday night. If that UCLA game at the Rose Bowl will be a Friday night. That's all coming out at noon today.
I like Friday night
Twitter will be kind of fun.
I like Friday night games.
Friday night home game went over well.
I was fine with it. I was cool with it. The fans were there. It was packed. It was a really, really good game that went to overtime. Like, the energy was still there. Do you prefer it? Obviously not. I'm a purist in the sense where I want my college football games on Saturday. I don't really like the whole, even Sundays. Even Sundays, I'm kind of like, man, this day's for something different.
Some people say church.
It's the Lord's Day.
That's what Texas AD said.
Evan Bland from the World Herald will join us next with thoughts on what happened here in Omaha last week for Nebraska baseball and what should happen in Chapel Hill. That's next on 1620 The Zone. Hey, before we welcome in Evan Bland from the World Herald, talk a little Nebraska regional baseball. So Dave, who lives in a beautiful part of the country, longtime listener, 1620 The Zone in North Carolina, huge Husker fan. He also works for UNC Athletics. He has given some tips for people that are worried about getting tickets because North Carolina fans love their baseball. Now, I don't know how many Oklahoma and Nebraska fans will travel or Holy Cross, but North Carolina usually packs that park, and it's a beautiful First of all, it's a beautiful part of the country. Chapel Hill, the Triangle is wonderful, and that stadium is really picturesque. He says, we have an awesome viewing area in right field. Think of a high school fence with no limitations with what you can do. Bring your own food and drink. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You can also watch from the field hockey stands for free like Wrigley Field bleacher bums. That is a tip from Dave, who lives in North Carolina and works for the Tar Heels.
I like that,
We will hold his last name for, fear of retribution by the Tar Heels if Nebraska is celebrating on their field on Sunday. Somebody who covered a celebration on the field on Sunday. This past one was Evan Bland of the World Herald. He joins us now. Good morning, Evan.
Hey, guys. Happy Monday or Thursday.
Yeah. Short week, but now baseball speeds up tomorrow. So we have ridden the Will roller coaster this entire season of the good, the bad, the ugly, the frustrating stuff, the exhilaration. And then they pull off 4 in a row in Omaha, and they have at least 2 games to go and maybe more. So is this season a success, or is it still an open question that this team repeated as a tournament champ and repeats in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think it's almost a question of is it a success based on the results or the path that it took to get there? Because you think about where this team was in early February. They were a preseason top 25 team. They were picked by coaches in the Big Ten to finish second in the league. And ultimately, they kind of ended up where we thought they would end up. But the path that it took to get there was not at all what was expected in terms of the injuries that they suffered, in terms of the slow start or needing to win the Big Ten tournament to advance into the postseason. So it kind of feels to me like we're back at base level of what people thought this team could be going into this year. And now, in sort of an ironic twist, all the things that nearly sunk Nebraska baseball are the very things that you point to and say this is why they could make a run in a regional. It's the way that they figured out the pitching after the injuries. It's the way that they've gone 6-2 against ranked competition and beaten the number 1 overall seed in Vanderbilt and just beat 2 regional hosts in Omaha in an elimination setting last weekend. So it does feel like this team has been in elimination mode, playoff mode for a good month. And so it's not a situation now where you're like, boy, can they turn it on? Can they get going? I mean, what we just saw them do in Omaha was more impressive than what it takes to win a regional, quite honestly. You have no margin for error. You're facing 2 ranked teams. That's not the case at the Chapel Hill Regional this weekend. So it does feel like they've sort of bottled up what they need to do. They've gotten hot at the right time. They're on their longest winning streak of the year, just when you need to have it happen. And so, I mean, I think, ultimately the bottom line is it's been a successful season, and now there's a chance to exceed those expectations by trying to win a weekend, getting out of the first weekend for the first time in 20 years.
Evan, you released your preview of the Chapel Hill Regional about an hour ago. It was a very good read. And I think a lot of people celebrated when they found out that Kyson Witherspoon wasn't going to be pitching tomorrow. Instead, Malachi Witherspoon is going to be pitching, and he's got a 5.33 ERA. But you mentioned, or 5.53 ERA. You mentioned in your article, though, that he is projected to go in the first 3 rounds of the upcoming MLB draft. And so he still is a guy that has a lot of stuff and could give Nebraska some problems. But my question is, his ERA in the SEC is a 5.53. What does a 5.53 ERA in the SEC equate to in the Big Ten, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because you do kind of have to, in your head, almost bump them up a little bit just because of the level of competition. It probably in the high 4s, maybe. It might be worth about a run differential. It's kind of funny because you look at like SEC offensive numbers, like where they stack up nationally, and they're very middle of the road. But that's not because the offenses are middle of the road. It's because the pitching in that league is just unbelievable. And so, I think his numbers in the Big Ten, would he be a top quarter of the league kind of guy? I don't know that if he's better than Joseph Jurwa at Michigan State or Grayson Grenzel. He's got some raw ability. Like the thing that stood out from him was his last start against Texas. He didn't pitch in the SEC tournament, but his coach was saying, he was throwing upper 90s into the 7th inning against Texas, had double-digit strikeouts. His team lost the game, but he's got all kinds of tools, ability, and so there's going to be some velocity. The command kind of comes and goes. But yeah, I think if you're a Nebraska fan and you've seen the news that Oklahoma's not throwing their ace, I think there can be a tendency to just kind of think, wow, they're going to just kind of scrap this thing together, but that's not the case. Malachi Witherspoon was a 12th round draft pick out of high school. He has been a Sunday starter all year. Like you mentioned, he's going to be probably a top 5 round draft pick this summer. So he's got ability. It just hasn't been to the level of his brother with just the ridiculous command and swing and miss stuff that he shows. So yeah, Nebraska is going to have their hands full with this thing. I still think the thing about the Nebraska offense that can give opposing pitchers trouble is it's not a standard sort of swing for the fences offense that you're going to see in the SEC in places. It's a one that's going to lay down bunts at different times. It's one that wants to work walks and grind out plate appearances. And so I think sometimes that can give pitchers some trouble. We saw that in Omaha last week. We've seen that at times when they faced some pretty high arms, especially outside the league. So that's what I'm watching for, is like, can you get into the bullpen early? He's got velocity, but the command isn't always there. Nebraska can make you pay for that sort of thing. So we'll see how it shakes out, but definitely it does feel like maybe there's a little bit more momentum, certainly a chip on the shoulder of those guys going out there knowing that Oklahoma's not going to throw their best guy in that regional opener.
All right, so let's reverse roles here, and let's play. We are on Oklahoma City Sports Talk Radio, and we're on the Sports Animal, and I won't try and impersonate him, but Al Eschbach is interviewing Evan Bland, and he says, how come Nebraska's not pitching their ace? I watched this Horn kid on Sunday dominate UCLA. They're throwing some guy named Jackson at us. I would pause and I would say, well, look at his numbers, but Jackson Brockett against Oklahoma, how do you feel about that? And also, how do you feel about the end of the season that he has had?
He's been really good. Yeah. Last 6 starts, sub-2 ERA. I was surprised, Gary. I was looking at the numbers going into the Big Ten tournament, and you would see, I was curious. I always like to look at conference-only stats at that point in the year because it's more apples-to-apples comparison. And you saw Jurwa near the top. You saw Grayson Grenzel near the top. And you know who else you saw right at the top was Jackson Brockett. Like, very quietly had an outstanding Big Ten conference season. And obviously that translated into the tournament. He was the one who beat Oregon. He's a guy who, we know what the top end of his potential is. He threw a no-hitter last year. He had that gem in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State last year. He's kind of been through everything, seen everything. And, the Ty Horn discussion to me ends after you see that he threw 118 pitches on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Like that's a guy that you bring back on Saturday, probably, maybe Sunday if things set up a certain way. But I think Brockett has been your most reliable guy over that time. Maybe not, he hasn't had the highest of highs the way that Horn has, but I think Brockett's the guy that you put out there just because you have a pretty good sense of what he's going to give you. He's going to give you 5, at least, quality innings. Oklahoma's a pretty balanced lineup, so I don't know that you look too heavily at the left-right splits as much. But at this time of year, you want a guy who can miss some bats. You want a guy who can limit free passes. Brockett's done all of that. Again, we just saw what he did against Oregon, so I feel pretty good about starting that. And then, to me, one of the themes of this regional, you look at the other 3 teams in this grouping, they all have really potent 1-2 punches. And I think where Nebraska differs is it has a little bit more depth in terms of its starting pitching. So like if you can get to a point where you're playing Sunday or potentially Monday, like I think that's advantage Nebraska if you get to that point. Now early on you're going to have to hang with some of these high-end frontline starters that everyone else is going to throw out there. And I think Brockett can hold his own on that. But the longer Nebraska stays in this thing, the more I think the pitching starts to turn out in their favor.
Like you said, this team's been playing like playoff baseball for the last month. How concerned are you that it might have been too much at this point? There's might have been too much pressure on these games that they've been playing, and they have a letdown.
It's always possible. Like you go through the week that you just had, and it almost takes like 2 days to decompress. I mean, it took me a day. I was there every day, and I didn't play. I was just up there watching. Like, and it felt it was like there was an intensity to it, and so you have to recalibrate and reset. And again, I think the thing that helps Nebraska in that regard is that it's played this kind of a schedule most of the year. Like it's faced SEC teams before. Obviously it had to have what it had in Omaha, but it feels like they're just going to continue to do what they're doing. Like they've lost one weekend in the last like month and a half. I think they have a good sense now of how they want to go about things, what players' individual roles are. Maybe more specifically, I'll just be curious how some of the injuries affect the offense in particular. Like, are you going to get Joshua Overbeek back from his ankle? Is Robbie Bolin going to be 100% after the hammy that he tweaked last weekend? Ty Stone, is he back in the mix? We haven't seen him in a couple weeks after he took that pitch to the wrist. So that to me is just as interesting as maybe the momentum piece, because it just feels like the identity finally is a little bit established with this team. And if they take on the personality of their coach, which it's pretty clear that they have, like I just don't see them coming out flat. I think it would be more a result of the opponent and them doing something really impressive, or maybe some of the injuries catching up to them offensively.
Hey, what moment in the Oregon game Saturday morning did Overbeek get hurt?
It was, he said it was the 8th inning. He was on first, and there was a single up the middle, and he turned his ankle rounding second was when that happened. So Will Bolt said he was hobbling a little bit Monday. And the great thing about like the situation is Rhett Stokes came in, and Nebraska really didn't miss a beat. Like he was really solid there defensively. He's been a guy who's been a lineup regular. He was a conference player of the week last year a couple times. So it's not a deal breaker if he's not in there. I do think they have some depth, but Overbeek has that switch hitting ability, a little bit more power potential, which can come in handy, especially at a smaller park like North Carolina. So, we'll see how it shakes out, but I just think that's something to watch. That was a guy who was hitting in the 2-hole for a good portion of the stretch for Nebraska down the stretch.
You talked about how Oklahoma, that they're not necessarily the prototypical SEC team where they just have all these studs and they let guys swing away and launch balls into the outfield, that they grind out at bats and, they might lay down some bunts. That sounds like Big Ten baseball to me, Evan Bland. Is that a potential advantage for Nebraska, that they've fielded against those teams before? They've played against that type of style of play of offense?
Maybe. I think Oklahoma's style very much mirrors Nebraska's style, actually. Like there's a lot of the SEC teams are more of the kind of Major League Baseball true outcomes style approach. Oklahoma, I mean, people who follow the College World Series remember that team in 22 that made the final, and it was playing kind of the way that it's playing now, in terms of like how we're talking about with Nebraska, hitting runs, stolen bases, bunts, long counts, pressuring defenses wherever you can. Like that's kind of their style. So I think that'll be fun. Like it'll be interesting. Sure. And then it comes down to like some of the smaller stuff. Like can you hold, who can hold runners on base better? And can Hogan Haligso, like he had a great Big Ten tournament defensively. Can that carry over? Like that's going to be one of those things that's kind of a smaller detail type thing that could end up making a big difference in a game like that too. North Carolina is a little bit more traditional in terms of how it goes about things. If Nebraska ends up playing Holy Cross, like that's a team, I suppose, that's a little more of a small ball sort of situation too. So you're not going to see, I don't think a ton of home runs in this regional. I do think a lot of it's going to be base running and situational hitting and clutch moments, things like that. So yeah, I think it'll make for a lot of action. That's for sure.
It's a very intriguing regional, and Saturday or Friday at 4 should be a great matchup. Evan, as always, we appreciate your time. Enjoy the baseball this weekend, and we'll talk on Monday.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
It's Evan Bland, versatile, rearranged with us. We weren't here on Monday. Can join us on Thursday. Overbeek was able to carry the flag out of the dugout to dog pile. You saw him hobbling out there.
If you could celebrate, you can hit.
Now, the Robbie Bolin hamstring, the Robbie Bolin hamstring injury, he's played well. They moved him up to number 2 in the lineup against Penn State. He's kind of hit all over. Outfield defense has gotten better, but if he's not going to go, then you do have Max, who is back and would be a bat playing out in right field. I think the Overbeek thing, at some point, Nebraska will need Overbeek this weekend. I get what Evan was saying about Red Stokes, but we're talking about Overbeek compared to Stokes. But, man, he was really – he was
hobbling.
He was gimping. He was gimping on Sunday.
Bolin, and I know it has been necessarily the case all year, but, he was really good in the outfield in the Big Ten tournament. He was making plays. He made some plays against Michigan State that I was like, wow, they were kind of like just track down the ball, pro style type plays. He had a pretty good tournament. Here's one thing that's got to improve though. They hit 250 with runners in scoring position in the Big Ten tournament. Okay. Now their defense and their pitching was so good that didn't matter as much. It's just so hard to count on Ty Horn and Jackson Brockett and Timmerman and, Broderick all pitching at that same exact level that they were during the Big Ten tourney. That number's got to go up.
That's 4:00 tomorrow. Creighton and Kansas at 7:00. Rusty Kuntz last night was really, really excited about KU baseball. I was like, man, they're number 25. You okay over there?
A good place.
I thought you were drifting in and out.
No.
I said KU, and I thought you'd be like, baseball school.
Oh, no. Yes. Asses will be kicked.
Do you
on
have
Friday.
a KU baseball jersey?
No, I do not.
That'd be.
Trust me, I have plenty of KU gear.
You should wear.
Trust me.
You should be all in KU tomorrow and just.
Well, we gotta split it around. We did KU today. We're gonna have to be GBR tomorrow also.
Okay.
Hey,
maybe I have a GBR hat and a KU sweater or something like that.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure you do the crossover with Connor Happer.
So you're going to be a Skurhawk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Or a J-Skur.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
I was texting him on Sunday. Trust me, I'm all in.
Speaking of Creighton baseball, let's see if we can we'll discuss this before they first pitch, at least by Friday. Very curious on what their fan base is.
Hey, you know what I am?
Base.
You know what I am?
Captain says
Matt
K-Skur.
McMavsker, baby.
We're back with the last hour that includes Steve Sipple and Brian Edwards on 1620 The Zone. Hey, I do want to mention in the Mav family, Mav McMaster, John Christensen, who was the Chancellor Emeritus at Omaha. Great guy. Loves sports. So important to have somebody for the school at 60th and Dodge, to have somebody that has a sports passion.
Mm-hmm.
And John Christensen, who when I first started covering Omaha athletics and be involved with Omaha men's basketball, you'd see him at a lot of games. So got to know him. Great guy. Loves sports. Passed away yesterday. And is going to be missed by many. He had some hard decisions to make in his role, but man, he was loved. I know coaches really, really appreciated his support from that chair, and you've seen it carry on with Chancellor Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I call her Joe. I probably shouldn't.
Friends, but
You're friends.
I don't know if I should call her
friends.
Chancellor. Or, I do call her Joe.
Yeah, it's a weird. What's the in between calling the first name and then calling him Chancellor? Because
So-
Chancellor is a little too fancy.
Like, you know the person
My
that
lord.
corrected me on that? Harvey Perlman.
Oh, yeah.
Because I met Harvey Perlman away from Nebraska. A friend of mine was his neighbor.
Yeah.
And he introduced himself as Harvey. And so I always called him Harvey.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to, when you meet a school president, like with Creighton, do you say father? I mean, I think
You
say father.
You say father, but
Or you say president?
I didn't
President
know-
father?
President Father, I like.
so
Master of Creighton?
Chancellor Ronnie Green
Yeah.
was my chancellor for most of my time at UNL. I knew a lot of people who were involved in clubs with him and who knew him and were interacted with him. They always called him Ronnie. They always joked Ronnie this and Ronnie that, and like they were like best friends and
Our
everything.
Chancellor
like that. So I
KU is
think,
a friend. I just call him Doug.
I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the human. But how, like, if you called somebody their first name, they go, no, Chancellor.
Now, that would be a little rough.
Yeah, they'd be like, come on, what are we doing here?
Unless your name is actually Chancellor.
So John was a huge supporter, really kind of helped the University of Nebraska at Omaha through some rough times, and that was sad news. And they will have a public ceremony at Baxter Arena.
By the way, on the University of Omaha, they actually wrote an incredible article about him and had a lot of excerpts from people just about his impact. And I would encourage anyone to read it because it's really good stuff.
Steve Sipple is going to join us here in a little bit. So the Women's College World Series starts at noon in Oklahoma City. You've got Oklahoma baseball, Oklahoma State baseball are in regionals. By the way, Oklahoma softball, is this the fifth? They're going after their fifth straight national championship. Is that right?
It sounds right.
Then in the same city, how about this? So I watched the NBA champion play last night. That was an ass kicking between Oklahoma City and Minnesota. And if I'm a Timberwolf fan, I'm livid. I'm not livid that I lost the series because Oklahoma City has been that team and they're special. But just the way you played in Game 5, I would hate to look. I would hate to look at Mike Conley and say, "Hey, man, I didn't play that hard. Those dribble handoffs and entry passes that we had no desire to, to guard. I'm sorry I did that. If I'm a Timberwolf fan, I'm not upset at my season. It came up short."
Again.
And Oklahoma City may be blocking you because they're going to be there for a while.
Please.
But I'd be upset at Game 5. But I watched the NBA champion play last night. And if they roll Indiana, let's say they win the NBA Finals in 5.
They're one of the greatest teams ever.
Well, you need to start finding a place on a list because they won 68 in the West. They are 80-18 right now.
Blow teams out.
The players, I mean, this the combination, they're semi-likable. I can do without some of the Caruso stuff, but I'd love to have them on my team. But think about it. How many other teams in the history of the NBA have had at least like a 68-win season and backed it up with a title? I mean, we're talking about the Bulls. We're talking about the 90s Bulls.
Bulls and the Lakers.
So you're going to have to find a list if they roll through the NBA Finals because that team is pretty special. And you might even go, ooh, they kind of remind me the way they play of the 15 Golden State Warriors.
Since 2010, the Oklahoma City Thunder have the 4th most wins.
How many championships?
0.
Well,
I mean, that'll be changing.
No,
but still.
so that's like that's the point. Like this is a franchise that has consistently been able to produce
Yeah.
team after team and playoff team after playoff team and star after star. And so it's like,
and he came from San Antonio.
It is.
You're welcome.
It's just one of those things
Jerks.
where. So I wrote the last 15 years. Here are the most successful franchises: Spurs, obviously, Warriors, Heat, Celtics, Cavs, Bucks. That's who I would put on the short list of the most successful franchises. After that, I think the Thunder, without winning a title, are already there, are already in that conversation. So if they are able to, funny enough, win a title and not have Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, or James Harden on the roster would be insane. But you'd be hard-pressed to find a deeper team in the last couple of years. This
will piss off the Sonic fans who got their team stolen. But you look at the amount of success and talent, for the most part, they've had in Oklahoma City. It's amazing. They're not going anywhere. So they got the big three. They, of course, have the MVP. I know Jokic should have won it, but there's fatigue on him. And this series showed me that he was the most valuable player in the NBA, that he was able to drag that Nugget team to 7 against that Oklahoma City team. But they're going to be around for a while. I mean, they control a lot of assets.
They got enough money to move around stuff, too.
Diet Wemby is starting to make progress.
He's good on defense.
SGA is, he's averaged 31 in the Western Conference Finals. So, but if you're in the West, Oklahoma City could be one of those teams that blocks you from winning multiple titles.
Well,
and that's the NBA champion I watched last night. I like the Indiana Pacers. To me, are likable. I love the way they play. I like Halliburton. I think we're going to get Halliburton, SGA. I hope ESPN handles it well and they promote it the right way. But Oklahoma City wins the title and they win it in 5. You better find a list for them to put on as one of the greatest single seasons, regular and postseason, in NBA history.
And they'll still be talking about Venables the next morning.
And they will also, and they will probably, there will still be no respect.
No.
Which is crazy because they would have the MVP and a world champion.
Here's another scary thing. They have 2 first-round draft picks this year. They have 3 first-round draft picks next year. They have 2 first-round draft picks the year after that. So they have 8 first-round draft picks in the next 3 years. They're not going to pick 8 guys. They are going to package that sucker up, and they're going to go and get another player, whether it be a role player or whether it might even be a superstar
or a player that could be
upgrade
this
roster.
Ruin them.
Or maybe they just go ahead and they trade their first round picks now for later down the road. They go, we'll take 2035s because we don't need them right now. They are.
I also think it's a compliment to compare what happens in their arena to college. So people love the shirts. They wear the shirts. They follow the shirt protocol. It's really kind of a cool thing in the NBA that people are wearing the shirts. All right. I like what the Pacer fans are wearing. The Oklahoma City Thunder, that's kind of been their thing. But I do think it's a compliment because most NBA arenas, we don't go, man, that is just raucous. We've done it a little bit more this year. But in Oklahoma City, we all do it. Yeah, because they're used to the college where the fans are more engaged and they're more part of the action.
Literally
where the NBA fans kind of sit back a little bit. They're 8-1 at home. Do you know what their point differential is at home?
Oh, I'm going to guess 18.
A lot.
Plus 231.
Oh, I was going to say
You're
18,
close.
18 a game is what I was going to. I thought he had a per
Their
game.
lowest win at home was by 7 points. So saying,
crazy.
You know what? They remind me of a college atmosphere. I think it's a compliment. I think that arena matters. And I think there's another subtle thing here from the Omaha perspective.
Okay.
I know they're the 41st largest television market. We technically are the 72nd or 73rd.
We had
largest.
A team here before they did.
Yes, we did. We had Nate Archibald here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, tiny.
Could that work? Could that work in Omaha, Nebraska? If they would have said we're leaving Seattle and we're coming to Middle America, and Clay Bennett actually was drilling for oil in Omaha, and he said, "Hey, we got this place. We got a ConAgra. That's a Fortune 500 company. Come to town."
I say it would work, but not to the effect of Oklahoma City. I think you would have more. You had more of a. It would be more successful in Oklahoma City than Omaha. But I do think that Oklahoma City's success has to make the NBA think about going to Vegas. Rethink.
Oh, those two are
going
the same
to
city.
Just because I think they need to look at OKC and go, okay, look at this passionate fan base. Look at the fact that people are talking about it. Look at the positive effect it has on the NBA. Yes, Vegas is great, but it's becoming a little overpopulated in terms of pro sports teams. And maybe we look elsewhere to another city that is big, but doesn't have, doesn't have a market that you have to share, that you can be the only sport in town.
Well, the first place is Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's ahead of Vegas,
Yeah.
unless LeBron wants a team in Vegas, and then there'll be an expansion team in Vegas,
and he'll go play and run it and coach it.
I don't know. The question is, we basically in this town have our NBA team in Creighton that fills an NBA arena,
and our Timberwolves.
Would they been able to coexist?
No,
because they would not have shared an arena.
Yeah,
because Oklahoma City Seattle moving here, and now we have our own team. They would be smart and they would say, we want to control everything. So we would have an arena out in the burbs
in Gretna,
and we wouldn't have downtown B-roll shots.
It would work, but it would not work to the effect of Oklahoma City. It would work. I just think that this state, not just this city, this state in general is such a sports city. We just love sports here, that there would be enough fans and enough buy-in for them to fill up a 17, 18,000 person arena pretty consistently. I'm not going to sit up here and act like they would be the Bulls and they would sell out every single game, but there would be enough of a crowd.
So it would work here.
It would. It would not work as well as it's worked in Oklahoma City, but it would work.
Yeah, I think so it wouldn't be working in Oklahoma City if they weren't winning, if they would not have gone. So, look at some of the expansion in the NHL. Teams that showed up won right away.
But
okay, in Vegas.
Sure.
Now, what happened in Oklahoma City? Relatively in a short amount of time, they were playing for a world championship.
Yeah.
So that helps instead of sitting around and waiting 8-9 years before you're competitive. They were pretty competitive right away. So I think that also helps. So if they were in Omaha and within 2 or 3 years, because then it starts to wear off the newness of, hey, I got to go to that arena. It's NBA. We got this NBA team. Then when they start winning, then it grabs you, and now you're locked in.
I don't know if that's an only expansion team adjacent thing, though, because we do see teams that have been in the NBA for quite some time that when they lose too much, teams or fans just don't show up to the games. There are very few franchises that can be bad or be mediocre, and fans continually show up.
But I'm talking about a new team and a new market to embrace it, because
are you going to
embrace suckage? For how long would you embrace suckage if a team just showed up where your excitement was through the roof? Here in this town, I don't know. I don't know that an NBA team in Creighton could coexist, because Creighton is well established. Yes, the basketball would be better, but I think I don't know how much full crossover you would get. You would get dabblers, but you got a commitment to 41 home games. Do we have enough Fortune 500 companies here to support and all of that kind of stuff? Because I don't know if you realized, now, granted, going to an AAU basketball tournament on the weekend might be more expensive than a ticket to an NBA game, but it is expensive to go to an NBA game.
I think it really just comes down to the owner. How much buy-in do you have from the owner, right? That are they willing to hire the best people? Are they willing to go and get Mark Dagnos? Are they willing to go and get Sam Preskes? Are they willing to hire what they need to hire in order to build a franchise?
Steve Sipple, huge NBA guy.
Massive.
From back in the day.
Absolutely.
He will join us coming up next. All right, little known fact, this is Steve Sipple's walk-up song when he's playing the over 50 softball league there at Holmes, and he joins us now. Good morning, Sip.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Good. I explained that my phone's a little shaky, battery wise.
Okay.
We had an event
Yes.
at Mount Talbot's Kitchen for the radio show here in Lincoln, and I don't know. I just didn't have my charger. Let's just do this though.
Okay.
Let's just do.
You know what? Hey.
Can I ask how much percent you have?
I can't tell. I'm driving. I'm going to say 7.
Oh, we're good.
Do you not have a charger in your car?
No, I don't. I don't do that. I got reasons.
Why? No.
Hold on.
Why? It's the most convenient place to charge your phone.
I'm really anti-phone. Really, and it's getting bad.
How?
It's gone from bad to worse. I don't mind. I've said it on other shows, maybe on yours. I don't agree with the notion that people should be able to get a hold of you whenever they want. And
hell yeah.
so if my phone dies for 3 hours, I'm pretty happy.
Don't you work in a profession where people getting a hold of you is a pretty important part of the gig?
Yes and no. It's not as germane to the discussion as it was when I was a beat writer. It was more so when I was pure beat, daily beat. Yeah, I mean, you had to be operational all the time. It's still a bit like that, not as much, and it sure the hell should be in May.
So,
okay?
So is the highest compliment from you to somebody is when they call you and you pick up?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, because I have
Sip.
a 7-minute rule. I have a 7-minute rule that's really unpopular with people in my life, which is you got 7 minutes, so let's get this going.
All right, we will put 7 minutes on the clock.
No, that doesn't count a period.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm when I was living in Lincoln, I did some volunteer work for Matt Talbot Kitchen. It is a great, it's a great part of the community in Lincoln, and I'm glad this many years later that it is still thriving and surviving. I know one of the people you talked to today on 93.7 The Ticket, Rhonda Revelle.
Yeah.
One of the things about the Nebraska softball season that unfortunately came to an end in Knoxville over the weekend in the Supers is we saw a full season in a Nebraska uniform of Jordy Ball.
Mm-hmm.
You've covered a lot of athletes who have that same drive, and then when they get knocked down, they get right back up and they're more determined. We've always talked about, man, is there somebody that you could compare him to? What is she in the mold to you of her mindset of winning and dealing with disappointment?
Well, I mean, you got to really. What I've heard about her from people that are close is she's extraordinarily tough mentally. I mean, obviously she's really explosive as an athlete. I mean, she's a very just explosive athlete. She's explosive in the weight room. You can see it on the mound, actually. I mean, the way she explodes into her pitches. When I watch her, that's the word I always think, man, she's just explosive. But also what you're basically alluding to mental toughness, and she's high end. One of the people that works with her told me that the only person that he would ever think about Jordy compares to Jordan Larson, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Larson in terms of mental toughness. And mental toughness doesn't always reveal itself plainly, I mean, clearly, but sometimes you got to be around someone to understand their mental toughness. But anyway, that's what it is with Jordy, and you can see it throughout the season. You can just see it in this manner. I always think back to when she first announced that she was coming here, and all I could think was, God, the expectations are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was ridiculous from the jump. But you know what? Doesn't seem to faze her at all, and she equals those expectations, and probably, in some ways, rises past all of that discussion.
If Jordy Ball already isn't a transcendent athlete, she definitely is.
Yeah.
Her, like right there, right? But softball doesn't have like a very popular professional league that is on ESPN, consistently, that's on national TV, that has all these reporters like the WNBA. Do you think that Britt Prince can become more transcendent than Jordy Ball?
Well, I mean, she'll have to be really good. I mean, Jordy's at another level in terms of impact.
Sure.
Yeah. If only because of the sport's a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Popular.
I mean, popular, maybe kind of more ingrained. Basketball's been more. There's a word I'm looking for. I'm not getting it, which is driving me crazy. It's just been more of part of our society.
Sure.
At large, softball is, but and we should give voice to the fact that women's collegiate softball is booming. I mean, and it's on TV. It's in a great time of year because the networks are looking for programming, but it's good programming. People obviously are watching it. And I don't mean just the NCAA tournament. You see a lot. You'll see games on before the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see the appeal. I understand. Softball, I don't mind saying it. I like watching softball better than baseball. It moves faster. Baseball's much more ponderous.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball's really ponderous. I mean, softball moves a little faster, a lot faster, and the athleticism has got to a point where it's entertainment. So I enjoyed watching Nebraska, Tennessee. I enjoyed watching those two pitchers, and I just enjoyed what Rhonda said today. One other thing, Rhonda said that 1-0 score that you used to see often in softball is now basically obsolete because the hitters have gotten better. The whole package has gotten better.
Mm-hmm. Well, you and nearly 1 million people tuned in for the game on Saturday, the second super regional game, and the Women's College World Series starts today. But there is baseball, and SIP, they have a pitch clock, so at least baseball is, not as ponderous. 4-0 in Omaha, back-to-back Big Ten dog piles at the Chuck. Now 2 straight trips to the regional. What's the correct narrative right now about Will Bolt as the head baseball coach at Nebraska?
Well, the correct narrative is it swung really fast and dramatically. Like if the right, you guys have talked about it a lot. If the right fielder catches that ball, and the Michigan State player catches that ball, I mean, we're talking about pretty sizable disappointment for a team that was preseason top 25. And if you just want to say it, this far along, 6 years into Will's tenure, and they're not making the regional. They're not. They were fighting and scratching just to get in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. It's not a pretty picture. But now the swing is so dramatic because the picture is pretty good. It's like now you can say 3 NCAA regionals in 5 years because COVID wiped out his first season essentially. I think they were 7 and 8 that year. So 3 regional appearances in 5 years. That's more than acceptable. 2 in 5 years. It's not really what you want. So I know there's a fine line there, but there is a fine line, and he jumped over it, and that's good. And then he's won. This is a coach that's won 2 Big Ten tournament titles and a regular season Big Ten title. Come on. There's a lot there. That's quality. When you win 9 straight league tournament games, elimination games, it does say something about your program, and it does say something about your coaching staff. It's just so I feel great for Will. I was really happy when he got hired. I like Will, and I think he's a very good coach. But there was times this year when it was pretty disappointing.
Steve, I like Troy Dannon. I like him a lot, especially after his Husker Sports Network, radio hit. And what I appreciate about him the most is just kind of how honest he was, and it made him a little bit more personable. And he broke some, news that isn't necessarily easy to break about the reseeding in volleyball and the no reentry for football. And yet there really wasn't that big of an outrage maybe as I anticipated. What do you think of his tone? What do you take away from his tone and his ability to communicate some maybe off-putting news to the constituents and fans of Nebraska athletics?
I missed the name. Did you say Dannon?
Yeah, Troy Dannon.
Yeah, Dannon is he's got a very everyman quality that's appealing. Yet it's pretty clear how intelligent he is.
Yeah,
he has a natural. You just with some people, and I don't know how to characterize the quality. It's just sometimes in this world you just tend to trust some people more than others off the jump, and he just immediately presents himself as someone you can trust. I trust him implicitly. I've dealt with him quite a bit, and he, like I said, he has that. I call it everyman quality.
Yeah.
And I'll be very frank with you. If you want a comparison, two of them, Trev didn't have that. Trev doesn't have an everyman quality. Eichhorst didn't have it. I'm not saying I didn't trust them, but this Troy Dannon's much easier to talk to. I think he's a very good communicator. I thought Trev was a very good communicator, but he didn't feel like one of the. I'll just say it this way: one of the guys.
Sure.
Troy's kind of one of the guys. Eichhorst never didn't feel like that. I think Eichhorst was a very good communicator, a trained attorney, but not just, I don't know. Troy, you feel very naturally comfortable around, and I appreciate that. I like Trev. Don't get me wrong, I like him. And I've known Trev, and I've known Trev well for a long time. But he just doesn't have that same kind of quality.
What do you make of the current AD and the current head coach being able to relate to fans better than their replacements, even though their the guys that they replaced came from Nebraska?
It's just that's a really good observation, astute. And I don't know, I've thought about it. I don't know how to, it's just one of those things in the world. It's a very interesting part of life. Like I always say that about Frost. Frost, when you just assess the total picture, wasn't a good fit. And just oddly enough, it speaks to the complications of people. And people tend to be, not everybody's real complicated, but I think people tend to be very complex, and the life can be pretty complex. And Frost he knew too. The most interesting thing about the conversation is, I think Frost knew it wasn't a good fit. And Matt, I'm not talking off the cuff here. I talked to Frost before, in years leading up to the fact, to the moment he got that job. We had discussions about the eventuality. Was it really an eventuality? How possible was it? Would he even want to do it? And I can't emphasize enough to people, it was a really hard decision for him. It was not a no-brainer for him to come to Nebraska originally. It was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just think he had to be kind of convinced, and he knew that. I think he knew deep down it wasn't going to be a great fit. But as a human being, we try to make things work, and I think he thought he could make it work.
I'm nodding in agreement with you, Sip. You probably talked about this. It is part of the offseason of what is the future of college football going to look like. We got to do some math. We got 5, we got 11, we got 4, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Sounds like a soccer lineup.
Eventually, it ends up to 16. Let's look at this from the Nebraska angle. As you're listening to proposals for automatic qualifiers and so on and so forth, and you're a school that desperately wants to be in the mix. You feel like you're getting closer, but you haven't been in the mix. What do you think is best for Nebraska and what the future of the postseason of college football looks like?
Well, I think it's the 4-4-2-2-1-3. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The 4 autos. I think. Now, I did read about the 5+11 yesterday, and I just haven't pondered it, how it might impact Nebraska. I like the idea of 5+11. I like anything that moves more towards simplicity. Like I like what Lane Kiffin says. Just, hey, let's get the best 16 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I am sort of repulsed. I think it's absurd. I really think it's absurd to award 4 autos before a season. It doesn't make sense to me. And just when you're talking about the spirit of competition, it feels too artificial to me. I understand why the leaders of the Big Ten and the SEC push for it. It makes sense. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense to me as a fan. Just as a fan of sport, it's absurd. But I think that's good for Nebraska. It gives them, just a better chance, right? That's what I'm talking about. I think that again, 5+11, 5 conference champions, 5 highest ranked conference championships plus 11 at large bids. Maybe that would work too for Nebraska. I'd have to look at it.
So I've already looked at it, Steve.
Okay, I'd like to hear what you.
Okay, so from 2021 to 2024, the Big Ten has had at least 4 teams in the college football playoff in the top 16. Okay, I went through the archives. I went through the top 16, and I counted all the Big Ten teams that are currently in the conference. Okay, so at least 4 have been in since 2021 to 2024. There was only one time in the SEC they had less than 4. That was in 2022. Okay. Now, what gets interesting is that in 2024 and 2023, the Big 12 only had 1 team in the top 16 in the college football playoff, meaning that the automatic qualifier would actually seek to benefit the Big 12 as opposed to maybe the Big 10 and the SEC. Now, on top of that, the ACC has done well. They had 3 teams represent them in 2024, 2 in 2023, 2 in 2022, and 1 in 2021. So actually, when you kind of look at the 4-4-2-2-1 method, I know a lot of people, and obviously you look at it and you go, well, this obviously benefits the Big 10 and the SEC because they get the most bids, but it does do some work for conferences like the ACC and the Big 12.
Well, that's good. That's good research, and that very much makes sense to me. But you haven't convinced me that you should award those bids before the season. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
And I'm not. And by the way, I'm not arguing for it either. I'm just telling. I just did my research and looked at the facts, right, and just to see what it looks like. But that is it's one of those things, Steve. Wouldn't you agree it's a little bit crazy that we're arguing so much about the format when we really haven't had a true precedent set on what gets you into the playoff?
Yeah, the whole conversation is a little off. When you zoom out on it, it is mesmerizingly odd. I mean, that every year we're having conversations about how to change the way to crown a champion. We don't know even really who's deciding it. And there's so many people involved. And a lot of them, we have no idea who they are. I mean, and when I say that, I guess I'm talking about TV executives, but also about university presidents who who they are, but you don't know what their level of competency is. And in a lot of cases, I would say that it's low. So yeah, it's college sports and football in general. The big one is I don't even know how to characterize it sometimes.
Yeah, we're 13 Thursdays away, and we'll be able to watch some football, and they will turn the scoreboard on. And yes, we will. You're down to 2% on your phone, so we got to let you go.
Yeah, we held in there though. This is nice.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I love the conversation. I really do. So we'll do it again.
Well, we will, and
Appreciate
I have no idea why you don't want to charge your phone in your car, but that's for another day.
It's crazy.
Be good, my man.
My phone's going off for a few hours. Take care, guys.
All right. If you got
Good luck
hold
reaching
a
him.
sip, anything emergency, just go visit him at his house.
That's inspiring. Turning your phone off. I like that.
You want to go ahead and listen to yesterday's Take 5? We talked all about this little yellow sheet of paper over here and
just
the
sheet of paper.
45 minutes of research that I went through doing. The hard work I went through.
We will discuss many things with Brian Edwards when he joins us next. All right, let's welcome in our man who I've been looking for. I've been watching Feinbaum for a couple of days. I've been seeing his Brian Edwards walking on the beach down there in Destin. Is that Brian from Vegas Insider and Major Wager? How come you have not gone down to the hotel to hang out with the SEC crew?
Man, they don't give me a press pass. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to say. Yeah, I'm not going to honor them with my presence if they're not going to give me a press pass.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I'm watching Calipari's in a hallway yesterday, and there's like people that are vacationing that are walking behind him. I'm like, wow, this is so on brand for the SEC. You get caught up in the playoff talk, the expansion, automatic qualifiers, all that stuff. Does that move your needle at all?
Well, as a fan, I mean, 16 is way too many in my opinion. But as a gambler, more games, more opportunities works for me. But I mean, as a fan, I don't really like it. But and I don't really like. But why are these SEC coaches crying yesterday? I mean, get out of here. We played an 8-game conference schedule. Stop being the baby. Everything Kirby said was so stupid yesterday, and Elko as well. Man, come on. We play an 8-game conference schedule. Just about everybody plays an FCS team, which I think ends pretty soon, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And stop all that complaining.
Okay. Thank you for someone that is in the heart of SEC country. All right, so we already have one team that's in the NBA Finals. Oklahoma City looks like a juggernaut. They're 80-18 regular season and postseason. Now we could have them being joined by Indiana, which will be great for the non-luxury tax teams. Indiana, with a big win the other night, they can wrap it up at MSG. It's going to be tough. They're an underdog tonight. Do you like the Pacers getting 5 in that whole formula tonight in a closeout game?
I do. Now, I got them at 5. They're down to 4 at a lot of spots, 4.5, but I still like it. So Indiana in the postseason, 11-3 straight up, 10-4 against the spread. But in their 7 road games, 6-1 both straight up and against the spread. And that's 6 wins in a row outright. They lost their first one in Game 3 at Milwaukee in the first round. And the Knicks at home have been awful. 3-5 both straight up and against the spread in 8 home games. I like the Pacers. I did a little money line as well. But, if the Knicks get a lead, you might get a money line price even better live. Mm-hmm. So I'm not like pushing that on anybody, but I did play the Pacers, and I'll play them maybe even a little more if the Knicks get a lead and I can get a live bet of plus 8 or 9. We'll see how the game goes.
We're about 9 days away from one of the bigger UFC cards of the year. Merab Dvalishvili takes on Sean O'Malley in their second bout, but this weekend, we have another Apex fight night, which I know you and I both don't enjoy when those happen. Yeah. But it's an okay card, not a great card. I can't wait to see Gamrot fight. I'm always a fan of his. But the main event, Aaron Blanchfield versus Macy Barber. Really interesting. Blanchfield coming off of a big win against Rose Namajunas in her last bout. Barber, who is a pretty heavy underdog, has won her last 6 bouts. And then you got a really interesting one, too, in the light heavyweight division. Dustin Jacoby, who, is a tweener. He's not beating the Dominic Reyeses or the Khalil Roundtrees, but he's, cleaning up on some of the lower guys in that division. He takes on what I'll still call a Brazilian prospect in Bruno Lopez. What's your outlook for both those fights?
Yeah, so the prop on winning by KO for Jacoby, and by the way, he's got 13 of his 20 career wins are by KO, and he's 8-4-1 in the UFC. He's getting up there in age, but he bounced back from a KO loss to Dominic Reyes with a KO win over Vitor Petrino his last time out. And it wasn't a long layoff coming up off the knockout loss. And I know he's up there in age at 37, but he's only been knocked out twice. So it's not like he's, taken a ton of trauma like so many 37-year-old career MMA guys have. So I like Jacoby by KO. Now, look, with these 2 plays, we're getting good plus money. So if we get a split, we're getting decent profit. So going Jacoby KO prop, and by the way, Lopez's only career loss was a KO loss in the Dana White Contender Series. Mm-hmm. So, and then with Blanchfield,
and Barber, like you said, Barber's won 6 in a row. Now, she did have some health issues, caused her to pull out of a fight last year. So it's been a decent little layoff for her. About 14, 15 months. But anyway, the plus 200 price, I can't turn it down. Barber's been good to me through the years. I know Blanchfield is going to be a tough out. But again, we're just looking for a split here to get a profit. Jacoby by KO plus 180 at FanDuel, and Macy Barber plus 200 at multiple books.
Hey, let's talk a little college basketball, because now I think the axis has stopped for just a bit. And last night was the night to get out of the NBA draft, and the SEC benefited greatly, whether it be Alabama, Kentucky. You benefited greatly with the Gators and Alex Condon. Any major movement with some of those decisions for futures for this upcoming college basketball season?
Yeah. So Florida had been 25-1, but they moved to 16-1 whenever there was the rumors out there that Boogie Flan was going to commit, and it was starting to look pretty good for Condon coming back. And actually, it's pretty weird. They were 16-1 with Flan, and they've moved to 17-1, which I found pretty odd, but whatever. I'm in at 25-1 on them.
Nice.
But I thought it was great news for Alabama last night. I thought LeBaron Philon was gone. There were mock drafts that had him late first round, and he must have gotten a big bag, because it was interesting to see. It was 10:31, and the Alabama NIL program. Yeah, Alabama is the one who announced he's coming back. Just 89 minutes before the deadline, and I thought he was gone. So that was just a huge win for Bama. They also found out Houston Mallett got a medical red shirt, so he can play. Pretty good scorer and 3-point shooter from Pepperdine. So now with Philon, his dribble penetration and all the 3-point shooters around him, with Wright coming in one of the best shooters in the country. Now I think Alabama's going to be pretty good. I was starting to think Alabama was, going to be lesser than what they've been the last, 3 years or so. But now they're still going to, I think they're still got a pretty good squad. Auburn, a big winner as well. Not only did they get Pettiford back, but they also got a international guy who I just looked at a couple clips of him on Twitter. Looks like a pretty good player. And let's see. So anyway, right now we've got the co-favorites at FanDuel are Purdue, Houston, and Duke at 11-1. 4 shortest odds are UConn 16-1, and then 5 teams share 17-1 odds. That's Florida, Louisville, St. John's, KU, and Michigan.
Yeah, I think college basketball is going to be great this upcoming year, but we still have football. Hey, coming up in now 12 weeks, there will be week 0. We have times, we have kicks, networks, all of that stuff today, and football is here before you know it. We always appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. It looks lovely down in your part of the country, and good luck as well.
Thanks, gentlemen. You have a great weekend.
Yes,
see you, Brian.
That's Brian Edwards. You can follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards, MajorWager.com, and, of course, Vegas Insider. If you are wondering about other odds, Creighton is 50-1. Nebraska is 200-1. That is from betonline.ag right now.
Did you see what went under the radar yesterday?
What went under the radar yesterday?
He's back, baby. Nick Martinelli coming back to the Cats.
To be fair, let me check the title hopes and odds of Northwestern.
Like plus 40,000.
300-1.
Okay.
Same as Oklahoma State, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Seton Hall, Stanford.
All right, our Cats are in good company.
Let me throw this out there though. They're a young team. They're not going to be good this year, but they'll be, if they're able to keep the band together, they'll be good in 2 years. Now, I don't know, when the over-unders come out, when the over-unders for college basketball come out, I think the Cats could be a pretty good bet. Just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there now.
All right.
Not saying I'll stick with it.
A couple of things here to finish on. Kendall Rodgers, our good friend at D1 Baseball, is reporting that one of our own, Brian O'Connor, great guy, great family. We love seeing him here in Omaha. The Wahoos will not be here from Virginia. They didn't make the tournament. But Brian O'Connor, who is on the statue. Have you heard about that? Have you seen the statue?
I have not.
You should go see the statue.
You got to go see the statue.
I'll go see the statue.
Brian O'Connor is on the statue.
I will
Former Creighton Blue Jay, current head coach at Virginia. Kendall Rodgers says that he is the lead candidate to be the new Mississippi State head coach. How about that? He has been wooed And, man, to go from Charlottesville to Stark Vegas. The other thing that everyone's going to get excited about today is, hey, so kick times, networks at noon, week 0 through 3, and then the Friday night games in the Big Ten. So get excited. Also, the EA Sports College Football 26 trailer is out.
I saw it. I don't need a Hims pill after watching that. Drone
Nebraska is in it. And in the trailer, you see the drone show with the block N.
And the field.
You see the light show.
Like digital? Like it's in the game?
It is. It's in the trailer.
Oh, wow.
It's in the trailer. And then the other thing, if you look closely and you pause at the right time and you stare at the Nebraska feature in the trailer, the end zones are already red.
Yeah.
Yep.
You think Dannon tipped them off?
Hell yeah.
Do you think there will be an option to kick with both the left and right foot with Archie Wilson?
Good question.
Do you think we'll be able to have that left bumper, left foot, right bumper, right foot? I mean, come on. We got to make the game realistic.
But, maybe, for 90 minutes, overreact to it before we get kicking network times, which we'll overreact to tomorrow. We'll also get you ready for the road to Omaha that begins for both Creighton and Nebraska as the college baseball postseason begins tomorrow. College World Series for women today. And we could have the NBA Finals and the NHL Stanley Cup Finals all set.
Let's go, Oilers.
We'll discuss that on the final day of the week. Big thanks to all of you for our guests, Evan Bland, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards, for Jimmy, for Matt. I'm Gary and Matt.